go. I can actually hear that. I just can't hear my microphone. Why can't I hear that? Check. Oh, shit. I can hear that. I can hear that, but I can't hear... Hang on. Oh, I need to switch my speakers up. Hang on a second. Oh, shit. There we go. Good morning, folks.
Oh, we got a nice fire pit going here. Okay, let's go.
CHAPO live from LA.
Right, hello, everybody.
13 CHAPO fan.
Matt, Felix, and Will here coming to you
Live
from the
from LA
very
as well.
end of our
California
California
adventure.
dreaming. And we're coming to you at the very end of the American continent. That's right. We are here at the Pacific Ocean.
Where
Chilling
America came into awareness of its mortality.
when the wave finally broke and rolled back. The terminator of the American consciousness,
Thompson
the
quote.
Pacific Ocean and California and all it represents.
For people who aren't aware of it, California is like New York on crack.
I think it's like New York on weed.
Yeah,
Like sort of
exactly.
a chilled out attitude.
Yeah, New
over
York
there.
is New York on crack.
No, it's more. It's sort of like the six on chopped cheese, ox style.
You got.
Yeah, you know you got to go to
man,
ox.
Felix,
Dude, I gotta say, like as now,
formerly the #1 best city in the world, but
Falling in the rankings.
I actually am so excited. I really am.
Yeah, because you
Here we
can
go.
walk to your gym.
That's the only important thing about living anywhere. I
Alright,
had to
cool,
I had to go 2 miles to the gym here, like a fucking someone who lives in Lithuania or something. It fucking sucked. I didn't do nothing else was good. No, I had a good time here. I actually did have a really good time here.
no,
but
it's
I really
been
wanna go
great.
back.
And shout out to everyone who we got to spend some time with here in
Felix
California.
is repping LA.
But I think I just to kick things off today, though. I think
not
like the
just
most
a
important thing we need to talk
strung out
about
collection of shitty
is
suburbs.
Felix had an experience
The apartment
today,
buildings
or a
look
number
really
a number
cool.
of experiences really that I
Yeah,
think bears discussing on the show.
So this morning, when Will woke up, he saw an unexpected sight. I was stuck in the washing machine. And you already know how you have to get me out. Ox style. No, I courtesy of a friend of the show and friend of all shows and all connections to all things, Jack Wagner, I was able to meet monkeys today.
You met
And-
monkeys.
and-
you had
and
a
other
final,
primates.
Yeah,
a
yes.
head-to-head summit between you and the monkey nation.
They were really fucking cool.
Alright,
They
so
were
like, why
so
don't you
fucking cool.
let's go to the tail of the tape here. Let's walk us through your animal encounters this morning, because you had a bunch of them, and you should have communed with a couple different souls today.
Yeah, so it's like
Animal
it's a
encounter.
rescue place that's sort of like they're being zoned out of it. They have to move like 4 miles, like sort of outside of LA County, because of one of those zoning things that I don't understand. But basically, they're a rescue sanctuary for like
Yeah, that's a
animals who are
laggy-ass
actors
stream,
or like
but,
exotic
I
pets
mean-
that shouldn't have been kept as pets, who like maybe they have medical problems, or maybe they just like they can't
not
be
fun to
released
watch
back in the
live,
wild.
probably.
They can't just like
But-
be. It's impossible for them to like be a capuchin again, or for them to be like a serval again, or for them to be
Well,
a
the game's
kangaroo.
probably a
in some
little funner
cases
to
again.
watch than like
And
watching
for some
Stedman
animals there, it's like
chug around.
someone just saw a call to animal control about a wolf that came in their backyard, and these people are like, we can take care of it, and they do. They do a fucking great job here. It's called Animal Tracks Inc. And they actually do need money for the move, but it's a fucking awesome place. It's really fucking sweet, and yeah, I got to all types of favorites were there.
Yeah.
There was
So,
scum, there,
so
there were.
let's go down like the top 5 here.
I don't think I can pick favorites,
we'll,
but
we'll
like
have to rank
bless
them. But like,
Felix.
let's
He's
go
such a
let's go through the
my
encounters.
best personal interaction was with the capuchin, who like he like crawled on my shoulder and then he like tried to take my watch off, not to steal it. He was just interested in how it worked, and he wanted to
Likely story.
No, he's not a thief. He's not a thief. He was like, oh, how does that work? They're curious, and they're our cousins. So like, I would let him
Dad
borrow it.
also took your hat off. I saw a picture of
Yeah,
you taking your Zapata oil hat.
He took my Zapata oil hat off,
What the
and then like
fuck, dude?
he like rubbed my hair for a little bit, and then let me put it back on.
I gotta watch that.
He was so sweet. And like another monkey,
All right, goddamn. Just hang on a sec here. I know. It's like so quiet. I can't ever get the mix quite right here. Or I really have to talk into the mic to compete. Oh, hi. Hi, Gamer Knight 999. All right, back to the chop. I think it's okay. I just got to talk into the mic.
the first thing we saw was a macaque and a baboon who are friends, and we didn't play with them. because
Lovely.
They're
No,
like,
sorry about that. I try to have
those are
these
two
issues
like,
sorted out
the
before we
monkeys
go.
that we like were able to interact with. They were like more okay around people, but the macaque and the baboon are like they're really good with the people who work there and volunteer there. But it's like you don't want to just have an untrained person there. You shouldn't like in the cage with them, or not in the cage, but in their sanctuary. But we did get to see them, and there's a cool story that the baboon really wanted to be a mother and couldn't, but they introduced the baby macaque into her environment, and she just treats it
She
like
adopted
it's her.
the macaque.
Yeah, it's so sweet. It's so sweet. And he like, so like the baby macaque was like kind of annoying, I guess. He would like fuck with other monkeys there, and the baboon like basically taught him how to grow up.
Oh,
It's
that's
so-
very special.
Yeah. No, it's such a fucking cool place.
Let's check
there
out
are,
this
like,
Patreon chat
more
for a little
classic
while.
animals you'll see, like there's skunks and there is like an armadillo, and it's like you really see that every animal has swag. Like when the armadillo saw us walking by, it started like getting up on its hind legs a little bit, like started
Did
like
it curl in a ball at all?
no, he did like want to make an impression, which I thought was amazing.
Okay, I got to give him a tight 5.
Well, these are former showbiz animals.
yeah,
you know?
yeah, you're
All right, I'm going to give him my clean 5 minutes, the one I did on Leno.
They have a lemur there that like I guess someone like fucked up, like someone just through neglect. But he's sort of, I don't want to say palliative care because it's not towards the end of his lifespan, but it's like he sort of had a paralysis, and they're treating for that. Like they're
Is my
amazing.
mic working
Wait,
okay?
you said they were giving him CBD for that?
I think so, yeah.
Check,
yeah,
one,
but it's
two.
like you can give CBD to animals.
It's natural. It's from the earth.
It is from the earth, but like no, it was an amazing place. It was like one of the best days of my life, honestly.
No, I mean
like meeting the monkeys was, it just, I don't know, but not just the monkeys. Like obviously the monkeys are amazing, and they are our cousins, and everyone knows my thoughts about primates, how they represent fragments of humanity individually.
Yes.
But
What does the capuchin monkey represent?
mischief. It's lying.
Good-hearted mischief.
Yeah, but
Like trying to get one over on you, but just like as a game.
you know what was unexpectedly cool though? I mean, of course it's cool because they're cool animals, but wolves.
Yeah, you had some wolf encounters as well.
So they have a hybrid there who's like, I guess his mom was a wolf and his dad was a dog, which is like, if the dog does it, like he really pulled
What is
one.
this? What is this?
Talk
the
about
Will
hybrids.
Menaker story?
Sweet tooth.
She, so he's
It's a
like
sweet tooth story.
150 pounds. Like, he's fucking massive.
Well, you said interesting animal fact that these hybrid species lose the size regulator in their gene code or something.
A lot of them do.
So like a liger, for instance, is bigger than a lion or a tiger. They're like absurdly large. But
Yeah.
they can't reproduce.
Yeah, so like this wolf dog type thing, it's like, a wolf really doesn't get bigger than like 110, 120 pounds. It's just impractical for all the distance they have to cover. But this dude is a fucking tank. But he wasn't like, it's not like a Labrador where like, you know how a Labrador runs up and rubs alongside you and like demands your attention? This guy was like cool, but he was happy to see you. He would just go up to you and he bumped his nose into my pocket. Not to try to take my vape like the capuchin did try to do, but to just like see what was up with me. But then, yeah, he just walked around, did his own thing. And me and Jack talked about this, how there was a real feeling of calm around the wolves because, I mean, the monkeys are our cousins, but the wolves. We've been working with them for like a million years.
Yeah, they're our partners.
Yeah, and it was very sick. I mean,
It's like the monkeys are like the cousins that you see like a couple times a year at big holidays, but the wolves, they're like your coworker.
yeah,
You have to see them every day.
yeah. But it was there's an understood thing between us. But it was
Path of the alpha.
if anyone can do something like that, like go to like a sanctuary where you know that they're, this place is totally fucking legit, like does great by the animals they have there, and that everyone there like genuinely really cares about the welfare and the enrichment of the animals, and you're able to go and just check things out. Like it's fucking awesome, and support any place like that, and especially this place. And
Well,
me and Jack were talking about doing like a fundraiser on Twitch because this place needs to cover moving costs, and it's such an amazing place. I mean, showbiz has historically been awful to animals, and it's nice that someone's looking after them.
Not much better to people, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The only big difference between child actors and animal actors is the animal actors rarely go on to hold up
Gorilla, you're a-
convenience stores.
Desperado.
I learned something. This is an interesting thing.
Danny
I learned.
Bonaducci.
I like asked like half jokingly, like because there was an animal, there was a monkey who was in I forgot which movie it was, but it was like a pretty big movie, like a Disney movie. And I said, well, like, can you get residuals for a monkey? And it's like, apparently not, because the animal
yeah, okay, that
trainers
mic's working.
joined the transportation union. Because they
Fine
want
Gamer
to transport their own
9999
animals, obviously. And, like,
HD.
they
You don't have
should,
to
they
tell
know
me if
everything
my mic's
about
working.
it,
I
but
figured it
that
out myself.
kept them from being part of SAG, where
Like
they
a
would get
big
residuals,
boy.
which
Right.
sucks.
So like if they wanted
Like a big
residuals, they
mega
would have to
noob
like
31.
bring a
Was
bear
asking
to set
people-
like in their car, just in the back
Is my
seat.
microphone
Yeah.
working?
Be like, hey, we're ready to go. Hey, don't know. Stay away from the craft service table.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
they
As long as I
should,
talk
though.
into it,
Like,
it's
you
working
should, like,
fine.
Okay, if you're just gonna put an animal in a fucking movie, and the movie makes like $1 billion worldwide, but then the animal was like fucked up from being like ridden that hard on set, it's like,
Yeah, from being tortured by Ronald Reagan every day
Yeah.
on the set of Bedtime for Bonzo.
Bonzo!
Don't scold him. He didn't mean it.
Well, that's beside the point. Aggressiveness like that could become an aberration.
you have to like pay for that chimp CBD, like please, like, just drop in the bucket for
I don't want
Hollywood.
to tell you what Ronnie did to that poor bozo.
Well, that bozo was on the shitty chimps in
Bonzo.
media list.
His name was Bonzo.
Bonzos. All right.
But no, it was an amazing
Israel is
experience.
coded
Well, I
as
wanted to
white.
ask you about one more of the animals, and I know you saw a serval cat.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I'm buying one now.
It's illegal.
I'm just kidding, everyone. You can't do it in New York. I know.
Can you do it in California though?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, you should. Honestly, you like shouldn't because it's
no, of course not.
it's like
of course you
wild
shouldn't have
animal.
it.
Enjoy the
It's a wild
CHAPO. I'll be
animal.
right back.
if you're these people and you like know everything about them, but what if you're like me and you just felt a genuine connection to it? I did. He reminded me of Ernest.
Do you think like they shared like some sort of universal Jungian cat consciousness? Are there aspects of Ernest in because like I often imagine Marty as some sort of like immortal being or energy, like a sphinx-like presence that is passed throughout the ages.
That makes sense with cats. Like they're just like
I mean, they do, they are, portals to the world of the dead.
yeah, there are like 30 different types of cats, and they're all just cycling. And when your cat's sleeping, he's being a cat somewhere in like Turkey. He's like, I have my shift in Izmir.
I would love that. I would love that. That's true. Because that's the thing. Cats, what do they do most of the day? They're sleeping.
sleeping.
No,
They're
they're not. They're porting
astrally
into other, they're
projecting
actually
to other
projecting. They're
bodies.
sharing
Yeah.
the universal cat being. It's just like, yeah, it's a hive mind of just shared consciousness.
I have to go to that cat behaviorologist because my cat keeps committing quantum suicide. But there was also a Bengal, and it was cool. The Bengal.
A Bengal tiger?
No, a Bengal like cat.
Oh, a
You-
Bengal cat.
yeah.
What is a Bengal cat?
It's weird. It's like it's one of those, like a palace cat. Or,
Oh, yeah. They have one of
Well-
those at the Prospect Park Zoo.
I love them.
They're great. They're really cool.
I fucking love them. But like,
It's just funny because they're wild. They look like house cats. It's
Well-
really funny.
well, that's exactly
They
it.
look like a weirder, kind of fatter version of a
That's
house
exactly it. You like look at him from a distance. You're like, is that just a normal cat in there?
It's-
But
yeah.
then you get a closer look, and it's like, oh, it's like its hair.
They look kind of derpy. Like
Yeah.
they look kind of
Yeah.
like flat faces. They're red, funny looking.
I love palace cats.
They're
but,
great
like,
though. They're really cool.
It's like one of those types of cats where it's like the closer you look at it, you're like, oh, its claws are a little longer. It's a little like beefier than most cats.
Yeah, it's stocky.
Yeah, but it was one of those, and they like lived together and seemed to get along pretty well.
That's fantastic. And then finally, there were some kangaroos and wallabies as well.
Or yeah. The kangaroos and wallabies lived together, which was sick. Like, apparently, the kangaroo came from, and I'm not withholding this. I don't know. They wouldn't tell me. Believe me, I asked. There was a famous person who, like, illegally, obviously had one, and these people, thankfully, ended up taking care of it. But I don't know. I'm trying to. It would be funny if it was someone on, like, it was Noah Baumbach, had like an exotic pet, like El Chapo or something.
It was Wes Anderson.
Yeah, Noah Baumbach, like, he's doing an interview and he's like, I just really think the most interesting part of the story is how people feel or whatever. And then it's like he gets off and he's just like, he's James Franco in Spring Breakers. He just like rips the collared shirt off and he's wearing like a fucking Rasheed Wallace jersey and like chains. And he's got
some fronts and then hops in a fucking kangaroo pouch and he's like, let's ride.
Yo, my bitch directs movies.
He's got a tiger shark in a jacuzzi.
Yeah. Just you pull down like an NYU Tisch school degree, and behind it there's just like gold-plated AKs and shit. He's like, oh, thank God I'm done with that fucking bitch-ass interview. He's just in his heart of hearts. That's who he is.
I got gold bullets, motherfucking vampires. I got Scarface on repeat.
Best movie.
Scarface on repeat. Constant, y'all.
Well, I mean, as long as we're talking about animals and animal facts in the animal kingdom, I mean, this is a segue into a question I've been pondering this week. Because, like, you know, this is our first trip after fucking being inside all fucking year, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill here. We've heard it a billion times before. But, you know, New York, L.A., America is, you know, it's thawing out. But with the thaw out, I feel it's sort of like those ancient bacteria that's in the fucking permafrost.
Absolutely.
Is just like as the fucking glaciers melt, they enter the atmosphere again, and like
T-Rex gonorrhea is going to be bukkakied all over us.
Well, I mean, in sort of like an emotional, psychological sense that like people have been in sort of in stasis for a year, and now that things are beginning to open up again, like people's social lives are returning, and a sense of kind of like public being and behavior is coming back to us. I strongly feel that, like, I have this strong sense that much of us have gone feral.
Oh, yeah, we're buck wild.
It's this. I feel like this summer is going to be so fucking crazy, and I just feel this like, I swear to God, like this week, it felt like freshman year in college. Like nobody knows how to drink anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to act anymore. No one knows how to have fun anymore. Like even just on the flight over here, I saw a thing today that 2 airlines have just recently banned all alcohol on. They're not even serving drinks on planes anymore, which is like, you know, a lot of people like rely on that. They're like, oh, give me a scotch or whatever. They think it's like one of the only, you know, decent parts of air travel. But like, and I'm sure they make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, they do.
Word to the wise, they have an outlawed mouthwash on planes.
But no, like people are going insane. Like there's a woman on the flight out here who was just like didn't know how to act. She had like was trying to like as the plane was still being boarded, she was trying to come from the back of the plane to the front of it as there was a line of people getting onto the plane. And apparently there's been like tons of fist fights on airplanes and yeah, they're banning alcohol as a thing. And then now like the bars are opening up and shit. I don't know. I mean, unless you've been like steady drinking, ignorance is to shit. And like I said, yeah, it's just a sense that like nobody knows how to act anymore. We've lost to sort of like rebuild our social muscles. But the way that's manifesting itself in our current American society is a little frightening because like one of my biggest fears about, you know, COVID and a year of quarantine is that like it has like just turbocharged our like everyone's individual paranoia about everyone else.
Oh yeah.
About like other people like as a thing.
No, we have all had all of those cultural divides reinforced. Now everybody is a representative of a side that wants the death of the republic. That it's the social stakes are so high. Yeah, no trust at all. And so you got a bunch of people who are wildly paranoid, all coming back into public to interact with each other out of a shared desire to like hedonistically indulge. That's going to require them to confront people who they've never trusted less. That is a recipe, my friends, for fireworks.
Okay, so if you are in a situation where you're in public and you think you might get into like a biting war with someone, here's something you can use to sort of break the ice and maybe make people remember their humanity. Okay.
No trust.
Oh, both sides want the death of the Republic. You know, sometimes I'm not sure if I'm watching C-SPAN or Star Wars. And I think someone's going to hear that and remember, you know, their childhood, Dave Barry, stuff like that, Doonesbury, all the classics, and they will retract their teeth. Their canine teeth will shoot back into their mouths.
Well, just like anecdotally, like two incidents stick out of my mind just in this past week. You know, going out and like going to bars and having fun in Los Angeles. One night, we were just at this bar, regular like nice bar, like nice outdoor area, like cozy interior, but very small bathrooms. And like in the ladies' room, only one toilet. And Catherine goes in there and opens the door to the stall. And there is a woman passed out on the toilet, like with her pants down.
Oh boy.
And it took some negotiation to get them out of the bathroom. And then the other night when we all went out for Korean barbecue, like after our meal, you know, I get up to go to the bathroom, and like I go in the bathroom, and I swear to God, I had an encounter with like a real life E1 character.
Yeah.
I get in there, it's like
That
it's
tripped me the fuck out.
3 urinals against the wall, and there's 2 guys like peeing next to each other, and then like the one who is in the middle, like closest to the open urinal that I was about to occupy, was standing so far back from the urinal that I could see his dick in his hand. And like, no, I wasn't looking. I mean, I suppose I caught a glance of it, but he was just pissing, like just openly, dick in hand. And he goes to his friend. He's like, "Yo, I'm drunk as a motherfucker." And his friend goes, "Yeah, that's because you a bitch." And like, you know, I'm just like, sir, could you please please wear a mask, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, your mask is below your nose. No, so like, you know, I do my business at the urinal, and then I go to wash my hands, and then the guy who was like pissing out back from the stall is just sort of like hanging out in the bathroom and just looking at me, and he's going, "Yo, what's the move for the night?" I'm going home, sir. Leave me alone.
That's what's awesome about
It
it.
was just like, "Yo, you feeling good, man?" And like, I suppose it's sort of like positive in one sense, because like people are so happy to just be out again and just being stupid to other people, you know. But like I said, it's this very much freshman year of college vibe, but in a country that's like been driving itself insane for like the last year. And another manifestation of this, Matt, we were talking about like out here in California. Was it like the other week there was like a wildfire in like Pasadena or something?
In the Pacific Palisades.
In the Palisades, and the citizen
All
app
along the Palisades.
now, which has become like outsourced law enforcement, like they put out some alert about like some random person who they said was responsible for this fire, and then deputized all of their like ultra paranoid like white urban dweller fucking like app users to like find and hunt this guy down. Like,
Yeah.
no evidence whatsoever
What's
that
the
they were.
worst thing that could happen? I was thinking about your guy in the bathroom, and it brought me to a broader point of something I do like about California, and it's that that type of guy. How best to describe him non-offensively? White guy wearing huge UNC powder blue shorts most of his time. Everyone knows what I mean.
Polo shirt.
Yeah, he's like a white guy who wears like, you know, South Pole in like 2021, you know, and it's like you see that guy if you live in like, I guess, you know, Fort Wayne, Indiana, or like Nebraska, but you don't see that guy in like New
Eminem
York
or Fred
No.
Durst.
Chicago. Like that guy died out.
Yeah.
I'm
like
from
8 years ago.
Chicago. I'm
And
have
it's the
a
same
really
with, like,
big
sort of
distinction between
Mythbusters
black people
girl.
and white people.
Like, you know, like a
Oh, we had a MythBusters sort of waitress the other
yeah,
night.
yeah. And it's like, but they're in LA. They're in LA because if you're like that, like if you're like a white guy who's like wearing huge shorts and like just talks to strangers like that, or like you're sort of like a mythbustery like, you know, blustery like burlesque show fucking Cards Against Humanity gal. It's like you're from Nebraska or somewhere, and people were like, you're the coolest person in this town, like you have to go to LA, like you have to make it. And it's like that they all come here, but LA is Dark Souls because LA is where people go to get hollowed. Like people go out here to do something, whether it is show business or something that's sort of adjacent to show business. It's like, oh,
I
I'm
don't
like,
think so, Phil. I
I'm the
think-
best fucking
Again, this is this
sign
like
spinner
millennial
in
take on
Delaware.
history that is kind of
go
like
to LA to sign spin for
vacuous, you
Hollywood
know?
movies.
Like,
And then
no, all
you
that
get out
shit
here, and
happened
obviously it's the
already.
most
Like
low percentage
Scientology
industry
and all
on
that
Earth.
shit
You don't
happened
make it.
already. Like it
And you
happens
keep
to
dying
people
every
who
day,
come
pretty
here
much,
so,
over and over
yeah.
again until you're completely fucking
it's
insane.
This whole
and
process
you like you
that's
just go up to strangers.
taken
and
50
it's
years
like,
for any of us to even
yeah,
fucking
you would be
comprehend.
perfect for my movie. It's
the
about
nuclear
a cop
age
who's
media,
arresting
Marshall McLuhan
himself
and
because he has
shit.
split personality disorder. I'm directing it now on my phone. You have to come. I'm kidnapping you. It's like
That guy's
there's
with a God
so
bless
many people
Felix,
just
though.
go fucking nuts
He's
out
so
here.
fucking funny.
Like, I guess New York has just like a baseline of like constant mental illness, but it's just like neuroses usually. In LA, like just anyone you meet could just be totally insane because they have been hollowed by the process of being out here.
I'm loving every moment of it. I love being hollowed out.
Yeah,
Being cored like
Everyone
a
you meet,
fucking,
huh? Like
Fuji apple.
all
It's great.
those
Well,
people in
you know,
Koreatown that I see every
the
day.
adherence of
where
the church,
are you
church in
even-
Londor,
You know, I'm
in
not
Dark
trying to,
Souls
like,
3,
bag on
believes that
Felix or
hollow
anything,
is the true state of humanity.
See, there you go.
Yeah, and maybe they're
all
right.
the people on
That is the darkness within us.
at like
Is,
Huntington Beach,
is what governs
shit like that.
LA.
Yeah.
I've been a little too full lately. I think it's time to get just a little bit hollow.
Yeah.
But no, I was just like Matt, the citizen
people
app
that the
thing, where like they
CHAPOs
just
would
had this vigilante
around
campaign to find this fucking
in
guy.
LA.
Yeah.
You imagine,
supposedly
like,
started this
it's
forest
so
fire, but like
different
then,
in Koreatown
like, the
than
other
it
week
is
they
like
turned
at
out, like, this
Huntington
thing about
Beach
their
or on Malibu.
citizen is
Like,
considering
these are
launching their
total,
own
like, fucking
private
different
police
planets
force.
almost.
Yeah.
So, like,
Because the original concept was if somebody sees a crime, then you could like crowdsource a response.
there's-
But the real long-term goal was to give people a subscription service where if they saw a crime or were having one committed against them, they could call a privatized police force that would come immediately. And that's kind of what they've been trying to set up with the app that they've
my
created and the
What
culture
am I
around
doing?
snitching that they're trying to encourage because they want to update people all the time about dangers in the area to get them
well,
paranoid.
it's like that and
I'm
next
gonna get
door.
so
Yeah.
Where it's just
down
like
here.
this highly like
Again,
under siege mentality
lag-
of
this
these
lag
urban
fucks me up.
dwellers
Yes.
who
Can't.
view the entire like
Get my
the-
rhythm
the,
going.
The city canvas, like every other person who's like not known to them is a threat,
Mhm.
and the threat to be cataloged and sort of surveilled
Neutralized.
and neutralized. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, like the citizen app private police force. I mean, I think this goes to shows like this is what is going to happen with law enforcement in this country, whether
Oh, yeah.
you defund the police or not.
no, that's the thing.
Like you could be totally
It won't
have a
matter.
totally
It won't
funded
matter.
police department,
Nope.
like generously funded,
Yep,
and like
absolutely.
they will find a way to fucking like to create like these boutique
Yep.
sort of subscription based like civil servant.
There's
like,
nothing
like
in the
civil
way of them
service.
doing it, therefore they're going to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I
matter.
mean, they're
what
gonna do it
the
no matter
funding is.
what. Like, yeah.
This is sort of another way of saying like with the summer of people being feral is also coincided with a steady
Will Menaker,
uptick in
Will
violent
Ferrell.
crime across the board
Mm-hmm.
in America. Now, when I say this, like it should be understood that this uptick in violent crime is coming from a place of a near historical low.
Right.
So, like, I mean, there is this narrative about like there is a
A
panic
return to normalcy.
about a rise in violent crime, particularly in violent crime among like already like underserved poor neighborhoods. But I don't want to make it seem like there's a panic, but if more people are getting murdered, it's certainly it's not anything to sneeze at or whatever.
I should
just
put
think
the
that,
stream on a delay or something. Huh,
this
so that
in
comes out,
conjunction with everyone
not so
coming out of
laggy.
fucking hibernation
the recording will
and
look better.
the knock-on effect of like the absolutely like exponentially like ratcheted up paranoia that particularly like voting people in this country have towards everyone else is going to make for like some kind of I don't know heady reactionary backlash that I'm sure is going to be parlayed into some awful Republican resurgence in the midterms or the next presidential
Looking at the
election
stream
or
now, it doesn't
whatever,
look
'cause
that bad.
it's just this is what people feel now.
Yeah.
Whether it's
so I'm
whether
about
it's
to
like
get
actually
so
like
owned here
an
again. I'm gonna
accurate
have-
representation of like there's some sort of like
I'm gonna get dropped in my
dramatically
rankings.
like rise in anarchy or social decay or whatever is sort of beside the point.
Yeah, I mean, it is what people feel, and like, there's like, I don't think it's the majority of people, but there's certainly like a large enough contingent of people that like think defunding the police actually happened.
Yeah.
and they're
Oh,
like,
big time.
and they're like, well, look what you got, and it's like budgets went up for most people.
Yeah, no, like, they gave the
no,
police more
just
money.
suck. Yeah,
Because this is all narrative. I mean, the crime raise is also mostly narrative. I mean, you do have more murders in certain places, but like it is a statistical fluctuation in some respects.
Oh no, like but like not
COINTELPRO
only
is
do like do people
crawling
think
up
that,
the
like,
leg
police
of
departments
America
across the
slowly
country
like
have
a
been
fucking
defunded.
gangrene,
Like, you
dude.
follow people
They're in
who,
the LA County Sheriff's
know,
Department now.
share stories of their
Narco
relatives
terrorism,
on Facebook or in
like,
real life.
Fuck
if you
off.
live in a city, there's a good chance that like you have aunts and uncles
Defund
who
the
believe
police,
that
okay,
your city
yeah.
has already been like destroyed
Yes.
by riots.
Exactly.
Like,
Just
that it is
sit back and be
burned,
gangs
like,
now in
all
their
of New York
strongholds.
City or Portland or Los Angeles was like last summer razed, like Sherman marching to the sea by Antifa or
Yeah.
fucking Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
or whatever. Or then the cops are now just like, not even going to work or whatever.
Yeah, because it's all a media narrative. Like the crime raise, no matter how real it is, it's being experienced by most of these people, the voting people, vicariously. It's not in their communities, not really. I mean, and especially the ones in the suburbs. Whether or not the police have been defunded or not, you don't know. You're only experiencing it as it was narrated, and crime rates you aren't experiencing only in any way other than as narrated, and it's being narrated as
from
police
experience here.
funding went down and crime went up, and so you're going to be dealing with that reality no matter what actually happened.
Yeah, and that is going to be the narrative that, like, every right-wing politician is going to fucking ram to the hilt to scare its suburban voters for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
Bill Bratton was interviewed by Maureen Dowd in the New York Times
Yeah.
today, and she just gave him she just let him say whatever he wanted. And he's like, well, they got what they wanted. They defunded the police department. Now cops don't want to go to work or do their job.
Yeah.
And it's like, thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking asshole. And I mean, like, the counterexample to this is the election that Krasner just won in Philadelphia. Because, like, leading up to that, there was this whole spate of articles being like, oh, like, the limits of Krasner's, like, soft on crime approach is running headlong into, like, down economy and rising crime. And, like, are these voters going to reject? Like, it was just seemed like all these articles are sort of making it seem like it was a fait accompli that Krasner was going to be voted out because, like, the people who in these poor communities or working class communities would be like so turned off by the rising crime, and like that. Not only did that not happen, but I think he won by like about 3-1.
Yeah.
And with votes from most of these, like, the communities that these people are supposed
Well,
to be
that's because
concerned
these
about.
are people who are experiencing it as it really is. Both ends of it, not just the end where they get to root for people to go to jail.
Exactly, they're experiencing
not
being
have-
heavily policed and experiencing the crime that usually
Yeah, exactly.
associated with like over militarized policing.
Whereas a lot of the people we talk about in the political sphere are only experiencing it vicariously.
Yeah,
from the
that's what they see on
sidelines.
TV.
Yeah, but the Democrats very well could get owned by this if they do what they're
It's
probably
like
going to
where
do.
I
which
live.
is,
Like, you
fuck
think,
up the
okay,
rest
if I
of
call
their
a cop, are
time
they
within
going to
power.
come?
Don't pass anything else.
You do think that, but
and
you also think,
allow
like,
the only debate to be that.
am I going to
because
be the
everything's
one
gonna
that's
be
then
getting
singled
worse,
out by
and
like
there'll
all
be
the gang
no-
members on my
Yeah,
block
they'll
for
run to
fucking
the right
going
on the crime issue, which they already have.
Yeah, I could see Democrats like the classic Democrat fuck up where they're like, oh, we're actually increasing funding to the police, and it's like they're implicitly admitting
he
there is
blinked
a
in.
problem.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Or and then they can be accused of flip-flopping, where it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, last year you wanted to take away their money,
Yeah.
now you want to give them more.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think if they have a really bad midterm and 2024, a lot of that's going to be like kind of dropping the ball on voting rights stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, actually, I was thinking about this the other day because, like, I remember like last episode or 2 episodes, whenever we talk about like the Capitol riot, there's always a couple people who are just like, why don't you take this more seriously?
Because I was there and it was fun.
it's a coup attempt, like, or this is a rehearsal or a message to like every Republican politician that like they, should not even dare to respect the results of any election in which they don't win.
Yes.
So the county officials, the state and county officials should just simply refuse to certify
Push
any
as far
election
as you can.
that they don't win. And
Push
like,
until you
says
hit
some
the
shit
list.
like that.
They already
That's like
did that.
I have
defeatist collaboration.
But I have absolutely
fucking
no
swill.
doubt
Anybody
like, that
who
is what
says
they're
that, it's
going
like
to do
projecting.
and do more and more frequently and openly. And I have no doubt that like the Capitol riot was a connection to that. But here's the thing. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the fucking Democrats, because if they took this as seriously as you claim to believe, then like why are they trying to work with the Republicans to have a committee on this? You know how many fucking hearings the Republicans had about Benghazi without the Democrats like signing on to that? Like why? It's like why aren't they why are the people that you trust with to like protect you from this like vicious right wing demagogic anti-democratic political movement? Why don't they see it the same way you do? Because I mean, like, look, I thought the Capitol riot was like a joke. I mean, if anything,
I agreed with it.
it was hilarious because I mean, like, it was a spectacular failure,
Yeah.
right? But like, but
They did a good job.
but what I mean is like on things like voting rights, on things like, how about just like have a commission on what happened and to like stick it to these assholes the way they did to you in Benghazi or whatever. They simply won't do it.
Well, they got more important things to hold on to. You can't fuck with the filibuster. You cannot make it more likely that pressure can push the Democrats in a direction that they don't want to go. They've got a heavy lid on the top of this thing. They're doing this big progressive push, which is supposed to be make by the new FBR, but it's entirely premised on finding the least amount that they can give to kickstart the economy. And it's going to come down. Whether they get waxed in 2020 is going to come down more than anything to whether it works, whether it's able to, in its pittance, do enough to kickstart something with all that pent up demand from the quarantine, and you get like a little economic boost. And then if that happens, maybe they'll win the midterms or at least stanch the bleeding. But otherwise, they're going to get creamed. If it keeps limping along, they're going to get fucking creamed.
I mean, I think they might, as bad as the midterms could be, and I think it's still difficult calling it now. Like,
yeah, you got to know more about the economic macro.
Right.
I don't know that.
Right. I do, and this is even more difficult to call, but it is hard for me to picture too many people who would like give Biden a ton of trouble unless he really fucks up. If they choose to run Biden again, which I currently have no reason to believe that they won't.
No,
do that.
it's working.
Why would you? Why, if you ran Kamala,
President Grandpa it's testing through the roof with all the key demos.
Yeah.
President Grandpa's owning, and Kamala is still underwater. What does that tell you?
President Grandpa's the biggest hit this network's ever had.
Yeah.
What is the thing he said the other day about like
chocolate chip?
no, the girl he was
Oh
like,
my
she's,
God,
that was so
she's looking like
that was
19, like,
bone chilling. What are you doing?
I'm especially honored to share the stage with Brittany and Jordan and Nathan and Margaret Catherine. I love those barrettes in her hair, man. I tell you what, and look at her. She looks like she's 19 years old, sitting there with her like a little lady with her legs crossed.
What the fuck? Joseph, Robinette, Biden, what are you doing?
It's so funny because Kamala is trying so fucking hard. She's trying so fucking hard to like become a thing, and she's like going in every fucking direction, trying to appeal to everyone. No one's really into it. But then Biden goes out there and he's like, I like kissing kindergartners on the lips because their lips are soft. And like 60% of people are like, yes, we love him.
His approval rating is like what, 59,
like
60 or something like that?
I think it's in the low 60s.
Every day, every single day when they even allow him to like come out in front of a green screen, he's like, just like, when they made Filipinos, they really, oh man.
They broke the mold.
They broke the mold. I love what they did there.
And crucially, the demographic that Biden struggled with the most in 2020 that augured the worst for the future of the Democrats was with Hispanics. His high approval ratings include a huge jump in support among Hispanics. So he's got him right now. Will he be able to hold on to him? My guess, no.
Well, Biden is like reverse They Live, where it's like we don't have the glasses, so like we see what he's actually saying. What he's actually saying is like, I'd love to go to Sally Hawkins with your 7-year-old.
Yeah.
It's just weird shit. But what people are hearing, like I don't know, like fluoride gives you the like takes away the glasses or something, and they're hearing like the most beautiful speeches ever. So when we hear a Biden speech where he goes, President Trump, and we're like, what the fuck? Like people are hearing like Jed Bartlett. Maybe
I think it's because like we've had like we're at our age, like the fluoride in our body and bloodstreams is not built up to the level that like boomers have.
Yeah.
So they get they're on the Biden wavelength.
Yeah,
that must
so, like,
be
they experience and feel him in a way that is totally unique to the way we do.
Like they don't know that he's had hair plugs for the last 30 years. They think he just has a big, beautiful, wafting chestnut mane.
They like if you like brushed your teeth with a lead toothbrush like, your entire childhood. There's something about like the timbre of Biden's voice and like the insane content of what he says, where you're like, this is the best president like ever in human. This is the best world leader in human history, and he's just like. They'll like ask him a question like, "Are you going to still sell weapons to Israel?" And he's like, "Chocolate chip."
That must be.
I came here to get ice cream.
Get in front of the car. I'll run your fucking ass over.
That's a perfect example of that. That's a perfect example of that because like I remember like when Trump was president and like the absolute open contempt he had for the press corps, like it drove them crazy.
One of his best features.
Yeah, no, but Biden and like all his people have the exact same contempt. And in
Absolutely.
fact, like with the press with Biden, they like it when he makes a joke
They
about
love
hitting
it.
someone with a car who's asking him a question about selling weapons to a fucking like ongoing war crime state.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's just like, why just step for the car? I'll run
Shout
run
out
you
to
over,
Rob,
man.
Comics Explained.
And they're just like, oh, that
Sweet
Biden.
tooth.
And we,
They're
just,
like
we love his
cheering-
witty rapport with us.
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive
No,
away
you
since
can't.
it's so important?
Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it.
Every headline about Biden in like the New York Times or any like avowedly like non-partial news sources, like Biden stuns nation with beautiful speech, and the speech is like, I remember when you could put a hand behind a girl's skirt when you were in line behind her. You can't do that anymore. And gay guys, they used to shave one part of their eyebrow off, so you knew that you could take them behind a set of bushes and do what you had to do. Used to be all Tom of Finland and wearing a leather outfit, and they would put a nose ring on so you could grab him by it. And who knows where you're gonna bring his head down. And they're like, the most people ever cried hearing that speech.
But like the question that he said about I'll hit you with my car is like the funny thing is like most of the press corps wants to run over someone with a car if they ask the same question because they're just like that's not fair.
Yeah.
Don't ask that question.
Yeah.
Don't ask why we're selling fucking
Yeah.
fucking $1 billion worth of weapons to it.
Jake Tapper is just like quote tweeting like random people, like just a random like guy in like San Diego who's Palestinian, being like, "This guy's anti-Semitic."
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like insane. It's fucking insane. But that's the non-partial American press.
As long as you're talking about that, I mean, I know I like the last week everyone had a lot of fun with the Eve Fartlow saga, and a lot of people were demanding that, or just not demanding, but like excited for the her insane like tablet piece about how her menchies are like the Holocaust. And they want to.
I have a theory about this.
Well, I mean, like they want us to do it, and like
It's
like
gilding the lily.
it's just like
There's
we
nothing to
we
do
had,
with
we
that.
had fun with it for a day, but like
There's
my thing
nothing
is like
you can say about
it's
it.
bait. It's absolutely
they want
bait.
you to
they
talk
want
about
you to
that.
talk about it so that you're not talking about like Biden selling them another $1 billion in fucking weapons. They're not talking about Biden's complicity in all this. You're not talking about like the ongoing fucking war crimes that they're doing like every fucking day there.
They would rather you talk about. I mean, everyone's guilty of this because it's like.
I mean, look, it's fun. Like, I'm not telling anyone what to post
Right.
or
I don't
not
want to.
post,
I don't
but-
want to like tell people what to post, and it's like, everyone has their guys. Some people have Eve Bartlow. I have Arson, the guy who makes
The pie guy.
the Mikey Miles of Israel. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like. I think a good rule is like for every time you make a post like making fun of one of those guys, you should like make people see something that a Palestinian say.
Well, I mean, like,
because
yeah,
they will debase themselves to whatever
Exactly,
extent
exactly.
because they would rather you talk about what an asshole they are
And whether it's-
than you talk to any Palestinian.
And it's like whether like that shithead who wrote name dropped us in the Spectator or whatever in the most tortured analogy
Absolutely
ever. It's
baffling.
Like Seth Rogen is to comedy as Chapo Trap House is to Henry Kissinger. It's
What
just,
the fuck?
What?
Like, yeah, you didn't hear that? You didn't hear that?
No.
Oh, it was a guy defending Eve Bartlow in The Spectator, which is, like, by the way, one of the most openly anti-Semitic publications, like, maybe outside of Der
Tacky
Stürmer.
writes for
yeah,
them, for
Tacky
Christ's
is
sake.
on their masthead for years.
what
Mr.
was his
President,
analogy?
He said Seth Rogen is to comedy
I'm a
as
welcome.
Chapo Trap House is to Henry Kissinger.
He's had sex with the concept of comedy.
How does this? It is so bad. So it says a guy is to politics, and then shouldn't it be West to comedy? Or no, it's
It's like Seth Rogen is to comedy as Chapo Trap House is to politics.
Yes.
That would make sense.
Why would he not do that?
But like, how do we
So
relate to
instead
Henry
of
Kissinger?
politics, he said Henry Kissinger,
This
a
is
guy.
This is how debased the Zionists.
Yeah.
This is how debased the Zionists are. Do you know
That's
how
what you
fu-
get
how
when
much
you're
you
a
have to
comedy
fucking suck
slash
to just like
political
be
entities,
completely
that
Jewish.
type of
Everyone you know is Jewish. Your entire family,
confusion,
and
I
you
guess.
suck at making movies. You suck at writing articles. You fucking suck at making TV shows. You probably couldn't even put together a boy band. Someone puts a fucking gun to your head. Find 5 photogenic 17-year-olds from Florida. Make a boy band. You couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
All you could do is like debase yourself so people won't talk
Well,
about the
I
thing.
mean, Felix, like exactly like your point you made about debasing oneself, or like the way these people debase themselves, is exactly the same thought I have, and it's very true. It's like whether it's
Sometimes
Eve
Felix says shit,
Bartlow
and just,
or
like,
Batya
feel called out,
Bongar
like,
Sargon or like or
could
any of these
I
fucking
start a boy
clowns
band
that
for
just step out there to like just write like the shittiest article imaginable. That is just like so humiliating to them that where they were like they have no compunction about literally saying that like sending an emoji to me is like the Holocaust.
Right.
And like the thing is, they're aware of that because like this is their role. Like they're willing to step. It is part of a larger project in which these people are willing to sacrifice themselves to step into the breach of absolute ridicule and debasement to to perform a very important function, which is to not talk about fucking like what's actually going on, or the actual they're talking about social media pogroms to distract you from the actual pogroms that are going on, to the actual fucking like ethnic cleansing and mass murder that's taking place by the state that they fucking basically all admire and seek to defend.
Here's the little rule of thumb I'm going to give you: when an Israeli does a bad piece of media, it's not on purpose. They're trying their best. That's like literally the best they can do.
Yeah. When
like an American Zionist who like actually would never move to Israel because they're so bad at making shows and stuff, is writing the worst article you've ever read. It's on purpose.
It's 1,000% on purpose. And like these people are, they're courting the exact reaction, and they couldn't have been happier with it. Like that's not to say you shouldn't make fun of them. Or like I'm not trying to tell anyone like, oh, like don't have fun or don't fucking wind up these idiots. I'm just saying like like the fact that like I think well over 10,000 people marched in Washington D.C. this weekend in solidarity with Palestine.
This is like they're like that lobby is clearly nervous because it's like not just Americans openly supporting Palestine, but Americans openly going like, oh wait, what the fuck is this? Like the fact that there are so many people who haven't made up their mind, which is ridiculous, but like still. That was a block of people that you formerly was like, I'm with Israel 100% of the way because that's all I've seen on TV or read. And that it's up for grabs like this, and that it's not a total control of the narrative. That does send a shiver down their spine.
Well, here's an issue. I saw a poll today that was like an overall like poll of like Americans, and it was like, who do you blame for like the violence in Israel, Palestine? And overall, among Americans, it was split basically 40-60 between people, 40% who blamed Israel and 60% who blamed Hamas. If you look at how the age splits in this poll, under 40, it's flipped. 60% blame Israel, 40% blame Hamas. And if you're over 40, it's even more drastic. The older you get, the more likely you are.
The more you love Israel.
The more you love Israel. And the less sympathetic you are, like the less you want to hear about Palestinians or like their right to fucking self-defense or
Hey man, a lot of us have everything pinned on the rapture. Okay.
Yeah.
They need to rebuild that third temple. Chop chop.
I have a tip for everyone. When you want to post about like any of these people all day, there's something my friend Spencer that has been doing that's really funny to me. And every time someone has like a virally bad post, he just replies to them with links to Olivia Rodrigo songs on Spotify. It's like, hey, check it out. Just do that. It's baffling. It doesn't get them the reaction they want. You can go on with your day.
Yeah, but like, I mean, these people are it doesn't matter how ridiculous or stupid it seems. It's working for them, and they're well aware of it. And like, look, I do it too. Like, I get a good time fucking riling these people up as well. But it's you should just be aware that like it is entirely their goal. It's bait. It's entirely their goal to fucking like say something unbelievably cretinous and offensive, and then when people make fun of them, to fucking cry about it and be like, oh look, this is everything I said is true. Look how anti-Semitic they are.
Yeah, and just make sure have as much fun as you want, but make sure that at the end of the day, you're not spending more time reading articles by like people in the forward who fucking suck and they're going to say the same thing anytime. You can read like Mohammed El-Kurd. Anyone, yeah.
You can read like the actual journalism about what's going on there. So let's talking about religion. Matt, here's a story that I saw yesterday that I think is right up your alley. It was about the release of an upcoming release of a new edition of the Bible. Called the God Bless America version of the Bible. The headline to this story, folks, the Protestants, they're at it again. They're at it again, folks.
They're having fun.
This version,
let them do them.
This will be like an expanded version of the Bible, which will include the U.S. Constitution, and in the foreword, lyrics from Lee Greenwood's classic, God Bless the USA.
This is blasphemy.
People literally like in the Bible would be killed for
Yes,
this.
yeah.
Like, people,
No,
like God kills people in the Bible who do shit like this.
Yeah,
This
like
is a
you-
worldly institution, you fucking heathens.
This is like, they are. It's like they heard our
sacred and profane, for Christ's sake.
They heard what we said about them not worshiping God, just worshiping America, and they're like, "That's a good idea."
Yeah, yeah.
We should just
Oh, right, that is
explicitly-
what I worship.
That's what-
Shit.
oh, that's literally what I
mean,
wanted.
I love it when they do it. That's the best thing about the Protestants is they just do it right for you. You don't have to say anything. It's like, yes, you worship America.
Yeah.
It is the devil worship of personal advancement in the form of America.
If
The
we had a
money
joke, if
cult,
we had a joke
Christopher
on the show
Lehman.
where it's like, "Oh, what are American Protestants doing? Putting the Constitution in the Bible?" We'd be like, "Cut that. That sucks, dick. Like that's like Garth Ennis 2006. Like that's so heavily. We like almost had that on the episode. That sucks so much. But no, they're like actually do like they're so far that way that they're like, yeah, a graphic novel about like a hypocrite evangelical who gets beat up by a cool guy who drinks. Like it's they're awesome.
But like to that thing about like the older you are, the more you love Israel. Like, and obviously, like the more Christian you are, the more you love Israel, and that's why in American culture, like particularly among evangelical Protestants, is why America's like unwavering support for Israel, the 51st state, is so important because it's America's only connection to the Bible. Because if you are an evangelical Protestant in America, like the biggest problem that you have is not only is God not in the Constitution at all, America is not in the Bible at all.
That's why the smart ones became Mormon.
Yes, I know.
Because
If you're
Joseph
Mormon,
Smith
they just
figured
wrote
this shit out. He
a
squared the
New
circle.
Testament.
Genius.
Yeah.
And what a shock among American non-Catholic, not Jews, who is doing the best, who's thriving relative to the baseline of like just white people? Fucking Mormons.
Mormons?
Yeah,
Mormons,
unify that
Protestants
shit.
all,
Unify
like,
that mind, soul,
dying in
body.
mass.
Yeah.
Like COVID or like just driving
Fentanyl.
into a brick wall. And Mormons are like
Gender frickin' reveals.
yeah, Mormons went from being like an itinerant group of like just would get kicked out of places for being too annoying, and now it's like, oh no, we're the American Knights Templar.
Yeah.
We're knights of the security state. We have the most money. We're actually growing. Like
Yep.
it's we own an entire
They've subordinated
state.
capitalism to like their social grouping.
Yeah.
Because they recognize the need to do that.
They were like they solved all the problems. They didn't try to wedge a square a peg into a square or into a circular hole.
But-
They were like, no, we have to make a new thing where
plates
we're
of gold,
God, where
where
we
the old
become
sin
God
used
after
to
we
be
die.
Yeah.
Like
idols
it's
made
no,
of
And
like
that's why,
gold,
like
you know.
the smart hustlers became Mormons.
Literal
the
coin.
fucking the dumbasses, the lazy players. They stayed. Nah, we're gonna stick with this desert religion and just try to like graft it on, and then it ended up
Slave
being
religion.
totally dissolved into nothing.
how do you like how many I'm sure this has happened with Mormon guys before, but there aren't a lot of like Mormon gin bakers, like guys who are going to go on TV and cry all the time about how
No.
they sin.
Maybe if you're in like Utah or Nevada or like in the
There's-
Southwest,
there's
where,
gotta
like,
be a
there's
few
lot of
guys
more. There's
like
got to
that.
be a few like Mormon TV shows.
But it's not like
and-
there won't be like a nationally famous Mormon. Like they won't allow like the only nationally famous Mormon like basically renounced Mormonism to he's like Glenn Beck is functionally an evangelical.
yeah.
He's
He's
like
like-
you converted
yeah.
in the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I didn't know he fully converted.
No, he was a convert,
Yeah,
an
no,
adult
he didn't
convert
start
to
out as a-
Mormonism,
yeah, he
so
wasn't
it was
born-
always lightly held.
Yeah, no, he's not a true Templar.
No.
He doesn't hold the Templar blood, and like he, Mitt Romney would never allow himself to like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, God no.
He has some pride,
Yeah.
and that's the Mormons have pride.
Yes, and of course, plenty of people who live in Mormon country or know of it are probably going, no, they're sucked. They're doing poorly too. Like Utah is in a lot of lower indices for, and it's they're doing bad because everything is dissolving, but they held out longer than the rest of us.
Yeah, and like if this thing we have now cracks and reforms and Ember turns to ash and then Ember again and the flame rises
Amber?
again,
Somebody say
it will
Amber.
be the Mormon kingdom of America.
Yes.
Like it's like what's the
I had
only
to flee
group
the
that I
country
think
with
is
an Asian
organized
woman.
now?
Yeah.
Like the American
that's why that
Zetas
shit is
would be
dissolving.
Mormons.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
That's why my ongoing favorite science fiction program, The Expanse, like 400 years in the future, it is very clear like the only like major religious group that is still around or features in like the culture as it portrayed on the show are Mormons. and they're building a giant space ark to go fucking.
They absorbed
They're
all
probably
the other.
doing that now.
yeah.
They're probably fucking they probably Mormons have probably rented a Big Lots that they own a franchise to the Covenant.
Well, I mean, just those are here in L.A. That is why the
secretly
greatest
melting faces.
American singer-songwriter Warren Zevon is the product of the two most powerful
Warren Zevon?
esoteric bloodlines in America. One of the rarest combinations of all time.
I think
Half
my
Mormon,
dad
half
met him.
Wow.
Message to all listeners.
chosen-
Message to all listeners. If your name is like Mary Beth Johnston and you have never tasted soda, contact me. We can create a new kingly bloodline. Contact me.
Oh God.
No, that's two chosen people.
Yeah,
Because
those are the two
'cause
most chosen people.
the-
of
And
all
one
time.
group who
Mormons
loves soda and one
self-consciously-
group who hates it.
the Mormons self-consciously grafted their social movement onto their ideas about early Judaism. They
Yeah.
called non-Mormons Gentiles.
Yeah, no. They're weebs for Judaism.
Yep.
But they made Joseph Smith clearly talked to
have
some
many
Jewish
weefoos.
guy at some point and was like, "So do you guys have heaven?" And he was like, "Hey, you become the part of God." And Joseph Smith
And
was
he
like, "Not good enough."
No, forget being part of. Yeah.
I would just be God. Thank you very much.
yeah.
That sounds cool. It's like playing a giant PlayStation for eternity.
Yeah.
Because they really did solve the eternal question of a monotheistic afterlife. How are you going to not get bored of everything? How are you going to maintain? Nothing can work in an infinite space like that.
You
Unless
become eternal.
Your eternity, and you're watching everything happen in front of you.
Yeah. They're man, they should just instead of Marvel movies, they should just make action movies that are the Mormon Bible.
Yep.
The New Testament.
Yeah. They did a great job. Don't tell me about the bad stuff they did. I know.
All right. Well,
Someone's going to DM me. It's 30 screenshots of the Mormonism Wikipedia. I'm not reading it. Go to hell.
all right. So I guess because we are going back to New York tomorrow, last thing I want to talk about today is a story out of New York this week in the New York mayor's race, which I astonishingly, I have followed it almost not at all. I have no idea who's running for mayor.
all right. You got Scott Stringer. You got the woman who apologized.
Well, I want to talk about the woman who apologized.
You got Eric Adams.
The woman who apologized.
You got Andrew Yang.
It's
The
gonna
guy Drew Dilbert, he's going to be mayor of New York.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be either Scott Stringer or Eric Adams, and they're both a mixed bag. But you know what? It kind of New York City mayor
What
is just
difference? It's just a job where you just absorb everyone's
absorb
hate.
everyone's the
You're the
psychic
painting,
anger.
You're the painting of Vigo the Carpathian
Yeah.
in Ghostbusters
Yeah,
2.
exactly. You absorb. You are the slime in Ghostbusters
Yeah.
2. That is what being New York City mayor is like. But we've made fun of Bill the Bungler all the time, but
He's the best mayor in America.
He defeated COVID.
He defeated the Trump virus. He defeated the Trump
He
virus.
defeated the Trump virus and Equinox. You don't have to wear a mask in Equinox
Yeah, he's
anymore.
the best mayor in the world. He's
The
the
photo of him wearing a dress shirt over the fucking
Yeah.
Nets jersey.
He has swag. Eric Garcetti, if Eric Garcetti goes everywhere, people are like, "Fuck you, you fucking suck." And when Bill DeBungalow, that only happens to him 50% of places. And okay, no, Bill DeBungalow is the man, and I don't know. I guess I should care about this race. I really don't want Eric Adams. I might be forced to vote in this, but
I really don't want Andrew Yang.
I don't want him
that's
either.
That's the main one that I'm rooting
But
against.
everyone kind of sucks.
They're all pretty shitty. But none of them are wildly more terrible than the others. But none of them are wildly better than the
I
others.
think I kind of want Morales to be mayor because it would be so funny. It's a former charter school person who's at age 60 is the accountability process is
that's-
blah blah
yeah.
blah.
You got bodies in
Yeah,
nice spaces.
well, that's what I was
You got
talking about.
spaces in
That's
nice
a-
bodies.
The
she
4
was
years of that is so
Morales
funny.
was sort of the consensus left wing progressive choice for mayor because she said all the things or whatever, but her campaign imploded this past week. Her campaign manager quit, and then she the campaign released one of the most baffling statements I've
So
ever.
good.
You could just your eyes could start bleeding staring at it, trying to figure out what the fuck she's actually talking about. But like,
it's
it
one
was
of those
this lengthy
apologies.
statement. It was apologizing for like the conduct of a campaign staffer who did some unspecific thing, and now they're to their bodies.
Yeah, it's like one of those apologies that's so vague where it's like, okay, did he like make an off-color joke or did he like hit a girl with a car and kill
Yeah.
her? It's like
Yeah.
my favorite type of thing
Yeah.
where it's like I don't know what.
And you know, like I tried to parse this, and I asked. I was like, does anyone know what this is actually referring to? And someone said it was because it was like a staffer was racist or an asshole to like other people on the staff. And I was like, okay. I was like, but what though? Like, how is he an asshole? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
And like, I'm
yeah.
not saying this like to question. I just want the goss. You know,
Yeah.
like, I want to know the dirt. And I think like also if you apologize or like do accountability for shit like this, I don't think you should get points unless you make it very clear exactly what the fuck happened.
It's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Yeah, like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Like this is just like allowing you to just be like, it could have been, like an off-color joke, or it could have been a murder. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, this has been what's insane to me about the mayor's race, and like I guess how it's been or how they're all covered. All the big municipal races in America, like the big three, I guess, or the big four: San Francisco, L.A., New York, Chicago. It's like you think about this particularly, and where everywhere you go, there are just these like just open human misery everywhere. There's so many people just fucking living outside under tarps.
Thank you.
And it's like there's been all this media coverage of people who are like, oh, I'm leaving New York or I'm leaving LA, I'm going to like Texas,
To Austin or whatever.
And what that always is, like if you really break it down, one of it's taxes, I guess, but the other thing is you like don't want to see homeless people and you want to go to a place where they like to kill them quicker.
Yeah.
Because that's all these municipal elections in all these places. The main thing the job is, and for the people that are like fanatical about voting in them, it's basically like which way are we going to kill all the homeless people?
Yeah.
And it's so fucking insane to me because like even if you were going to take a cynical track with it, like what's the best way to keep capital here and like to in the long run save the most money and generate the most revenue? It would be to take the year and be like, okay, here's an apartment. Like if you've been driven fucking insane by just living against the elements for 3 decades, like here you go. Like we don't want you to like fucking die outside.
all
We
the
don't want
empty
this to be,
real
like, a
estate they
societal
got and all
problem.
that crap.
If you're just doing that from a cynical angle, like fine, but it's like all like the only coverage I've seen is like, you know, did Yang have a moment on The View? And it's like, how is this not like the biggest issue? Just like the thousands of people just like sleeping in the fucking rain.
Because they have nothing they can do about it. Because although the correct answer of pay for them to live humanely is obvious and correct and feasible, you have to put that housing somewhere.
Yeah.
And municipal power derives from fucking real estate, developers and homeowners in some combination. And so
In
you
this
work for
late
them if you're the mayor.
capitalist phase, it
So
does.
you have no real
People
leeway
used to own their
do
own
anything
homes
other than
outright,
just
like-
move homeless people around and abuse them so
Forget
much
that,
they
like,
take the hint and leave town.
30s and 40s
The
really
1970s
when
Yeah, but
the
they're
whole
not.
awesome.
financialization of
were
the
awesome
housing
for
market began.
the American mayoral system.
Oh yeah, no, it was the entire. I mean, everyone who was a mayor at that time was broken on the wheel, and everybody who's come after that knows the score.
It just served the fire industry.
It's just so insane to me because it's like no one really across the. And this isn't one of the things where it's like, oh, people on the left talk about it. No, it's like no one really wants to talk about it. It's like no one wants to think about it or see it. And it's like all these like people who maybe in their personal lives to their families are good or you know they consider themselves like outwardly progressive people. Will like if this was a direct vote, like we're gonna kill all these people in a way you don't have to see it.
Oh, they
it's
would
like
absolutely take that.
yeah.
Word kill.
Yeah.
You just like it was just you pressed a button and you're like we don't have to see them anymore. They're not
Yeah.
a problem. They're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
They're not really even supposed to
they're
be
not
there.
supposed
So
to
it's
be
not
here.
a crime what
So,
happened.
I it's so insane to me
Why
that
are
like
they there? You
no
know, I
one
mean,
really portrays
homeless
this
people
as
gather
like
in
a
this place
national
because
crisis,
it's by
which it is.
services.
It's just, and I think the longer it goes on, the less likely anything
Yeah,
will
if
be
you're
done
gonna move
about
away
it. because
from central
every
services,
day
you're
that goes
probably
by
gonna
that
move
you live
away
in
from
some place
homeless
like San
people.
Francisco or New York, for that matter, and you just walk by encampments of people who have been driven insane by the world and forced literally onto fucking sidewalks with indentations on their heads
True,
from sleeping
true.
against jagged edges. You just deaden that
All
part
true.
in you that feels anything about it just a little bit more, until it's like you got blinders on. You walk right by it.
Those
Don't
people
fucking
serve
notice.
a vital social function the way they are that would be lost if they were treated humanely, and that is their fucking
to
warning to
scare
everybody
people.
else.
Yeah, if you have one of the invisible jobs, if you're a guy who lives in a fucking shitty apartment and your job is to wipe down the aisles at CVS or like drive Uber or something like that, that's telling you like, hey, don't fuck up.
Yep.
Yep.
Don't ask for
You're
too much.
goddamn
People
sure
say,
it's
"Oh,
not
no,
fucking
people that
right."
have
It is?
coercion. This is the
The
coercion.
fuck?
It is
What are you
creating
fucking
these people
even
to
saying,
live in
dude?
these lives that it doesn't have to be, and that is the fucking gun at the base of the neck
And
that
this
gets
is- and this
everybody
is-
on the treadmill.
And this is
Oh,
this
is
is
it
on the
really?
exact same spectrum of like the conversations about like how tight, like, how generous should unemployment benefits really
Yeah.
be?
Yeah.
Or like, we don't want a labor market that's too competitive and tight for like, employers or whatever. It's this whole thing about like,
If
or
that's
should we
the
really
gun
incentivize
that keeps people from
people
doing that, then
not
why do so many
working?
fucking
It's just because like,
people
no, they
do
need
it?
that
Like,
lash.
Yep.
They need
Yeah.
the lash in their hand. And like, if you are someone on unemployment, they're like, they want to force you right back into taking that job for fucking $12 an hour or
Yeah.
less. And if you're like, and again, if you're making more, like, who the fuck would choose a job over that?
I mean,
Like, what? Like, and then a homeless crisis, like that problem. Like, again, you're exactly right, Matt. Like, you just point to those people and just be like, hey, you like that? Because if you don't fucking show up for work, like, that's going to be you, and there's
Yep.
going to be, and no one's going to help you. No one's going to help.
You're
you.
invisible
You're
to
gonna be
everyone.
invisible. You're going to be like
Absolutely
literal
true.
garbage that like have no rights, no recourse, and no one even notices your pain.
the most you can ever
That's what
become
pisses
like
me off
the
so much
story
about
is
hearing
when
this shit, is that
a bunch
it's-
of rich
it's
people
absolutely
hate
true.
seeing you so much
If-
that they go somewhere else.
I mean, like
If
right
you
here in
don't
LA,
do
like
it,
they just
that is what
like
will
Echo
happen to
Park,
you.
they just
And
like had this
everybody
huge
fucking
clear
knows
out
that.
of Echo Park, which had a homeless encampment in it, and now like they're just reopening Echo Park, but there's a fence around the entire park and checkpoints to get back in, which is like, if you live in that neighborhood, isn't that a fucking eyesore? You can't even go to a public park without being asked like, hey, are you here for business or pleasure?
It looks like the yard at a minimum security prison now.
And apparently, like one of the, again, this is like such like liberal brain like fucking hostility. Like one of the ways they're dealing with like
I'll post
the
a
areas
video of
that
us
were
walking
previously
with
like,
our baby. And you can
that
still-
they're going to be
you
like,
can
with what they're
yeah,
doing is that
hey.
they're creating these like.
Would you rather bring your baby down there now, or what? Like,
because they're like, this is
we look like
this is-
idiots
this
bringing
is
our baby
sustainable.
there.
This
In a
is
city
How
where you
does
have
that-
to get
how's
everywhere
that
by
for a nice
car,
neighborhood?
suck my fucking dick.
Yeah,
you
me and my
literally have
wife
to take
brought
a
our
car.
baby down to
Any
Echo
there are
Park.
no sidewalks here. Suck my fucking
Before
dick.
they
Your
cleaned it
cactus
out.
garden.
So they're creating like all like actual space. That
How do you
would be
think we
available for
felt?
a human being to sit
felt
or like,
fucking
lie
stupid.
on. They're going to cover with fucking cactus spines, but they're like, oh, that's sustainable. It doesn't waste water.
In like you burn through like a steak.
well, just don't go there. Is what you're gonna fucking say to me.
To like go to
that, you know?
7-Eleven here. A
You look
fucking
at-
cactus garden. Oh my god, it's satanic.
You look at it and you just think, what is the long-term gain? Because you're just
must
moving
be
people around for
not
huge
in the
amounts
right
of money. They're spending over $2,600 a month per tent
The whole thing. I don't
to
like
keep
it.
people in a big parking lot next to the
It's not right
freeway
that any of it is
in a
happening.
fucking tent.
Okay.
More than a fucking two-bedroom apartment in this city. They could just pay people to
It
stay
is
there.
all
They're spending that money
100% because rents are so
instead.
high.
Just moving,
Rents are
yeah, moving
insane.
everyone around.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Sending
so,
them on buses to go
So,
to like.
so that it makes you think. Well, okay, there's no long-term plan here. You're just kicking the can
2013,
down the road.
everybody's
It's like,
rent went
isn't that
up
going
by
to
like
eventually blow up in your
40%.
face? Isn't there
Try
going
to
to be too many?
fucking. Sorry, by like
The direction we're
80%.
going is
Try
the
to fucking look
creation
me in the
of
eye and tell
areas
me
that
that's
are
not true.
denied to homeless people, but the unhoused technologically, like little cantons, little like central market
I'm not
and
gonna
like
sit here and
suburban areas
say
that are just
as
denied
somebody
by geography, by the architecture, by
with a
the drone
bourgeois
army, whatever it
interest,
is,
like, you know,
and then there'll
a
be everywhere
child
else.
that I have to take
And
fucking
then
care
you
of,
guys can
and
figure that out
someone's
your own.
well-experienced with that
Even
over
in-
decades. Like,
even in the UK, a
I'm
place
not
that
gonna
has
sit here
no
and
value
try to
in
act like
human
I'm
life,
above
a place where
the
people love
blighting
my
hell
spit on.
effrontery, you know, at going
They,
to
the
fucking-
government will be like,
not being
here,
able to
we're
walk
buying
through
your
a fucking
apartment
street
building
because
no
of
one lives
economic
in,
conditions,
so
but
put
also
homeless
because
people
of
here. And like, I'm not saying they don't
every
have a homeless
human's
problem,
individual
but it's like
response to them.
they're doing something we don't really do here. I mean, the only example I've really heard of someone doing that on
It takes a
any type
lot
of
of
scale was
fucking
actually
effort to
Utah.
then sit there and
Yeah,
try to be
as
above
would you
that and be like,
imagine.
oh, well,
there's
it's not
plans on the books. LA has this
every
thing like
one's
Room-
individual
Project Room
responsibility
Key
to take
that
care of
they have
themselves
funding
in
for and
that
are going to get more
situation
funding for,
to not,
which is just
you know,
buying out
I don't know if you can even say
unused
that.
hotel rooms and turning
It's a
them
really
into
hard place to
sort of
be.
like
SRO.
Yeah,
SROs.
why not? Why not spend?
SROs that are run by the
Let me
state.
post
Say,
that
Why not
video of
spend
us
as much
walking down
money
there
as
and you see what
possible
you
and
think.
house the least amount of people?
Yeah.
Hotel rooms. How many fucking empty buildings are there?
Well, that's the thing is that they're not renting out the hotels; they're turning the hotels into like dormitories, basically. And so far they've used barely any of the money, but the hope is that if they get there's changes on the city council and stuff, that they can get like really open the floodgates. So there are
Okay,
like,
that's
models
good.
to do something different. It's just a question of whether they can actually get the things together that make it happen.
Sorry, just we got very far afield. Like back to Morales in New York
suck at
City.
it.
Back over very
Back to the real. Back to the real shit.
back to a real fucking city.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, there's a couple threads here that I think are interesting. It's like one is it should be like an object lesson in how fucking useless that bodies and spaces language is. If it can, if anyone
so many
can
problems
say
in
it,
America,
and it can be
is
used so
a
deftly to just
material
basically
reality thing.
link we're all.
Homeless.
I don't counting of like what actually happened or what was said. Or
I don't
done.
think it's
cultural
totally
components
useless
that make
because
it
it's
so
like,
much worse.
Well, if you look at Morales on
And that's-
paper, it's like, well, yeah, well,
that's
why?
the use
like
of it is that, like,
frankly-
how did this person like again, like I know, like I didn't know shit about her, but like it's just she gets out there and she says all the right
Sorry.
things, but like she was in Bloomberg.
Hang on a sec. Yeah, that's what Rank. I agree with everything they're saying about like all that stuff, and then it's the cultural stuff of everybody kind of having an attitude of like a rock star attitude about fucking camping out, and then that makes it so much worse though. That's all.
Administration.
Yeah.
She can't contract business with the city because she bribed a water inspector, like the Bloomberg administration. She was on this like a fucking nonprofit that was just evicted people. It was just a nonprofit for evicting people and I don't know, funding charter schools or something. And then all of a sudden she's talking about fucking we are doing the work of holding the space.
Well,
for
yeah, that's
marginalized
the
people.
thing. That language will never work in getting the amount of people you need to win the election, but it will peel enough people off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it worked enough to convince enough people to just be like, oh, she's the progressive choice for New York City.
Those voted for the commission.
Yeah.
They're just throwing it away.
And then now like to find out and then like all her staff quits because they wanted to form a union and like the fucking like
Most important union types are, I would say, campaign workers. It's the most important.
And like I mean, obviously, like
unionized.
I'm in favor of like all workplaces being unionized. Like the more the better, in my opinion. But like it just seems like these campaign jobs is like, I mean, isn't this just like a stepping stone for most of these people to get fucking jobs in politics?
Yeah,
That is the idea.
I'm gonna come out here and say I like don't give a shit about people who work on campaigns.
I gotta say
just
this,
don't.
though.
I'm sorry, man.
I don't. When it comes to Morales, I don't really think that like that really was some sort of leftist, insurgency campaign powered by real. It seems like it was very focus grouped, focus tested.
Yeah.
So whatever's going to happen there, you'd expect it. Of course, they're trying to. Why wouldn't they? But I do think that, like in a world where there are attempts to genuinely challenge the system through electoral politics, like people do take the plunge to try to do local and state races. When they do that, they have to understand that they're subordinating their interest to some degree to something bigger than them, right?
Yeah.
Like that they're actually trying to get something accomplished more than just get a job, more than just, punch a clock. Like there's something that they're trying to accomplish there. And I hope that like this isn't just a sign that everybody is so kind of fixated on, these models like unions, they're good. We need one for the workplace. That they completely forget, that sometimes there's something bigger to fight for. But I don't think that was even, the case here because it seemed like a very cynical campaign from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just saw like that lane was open, and then they hired a bunch of people that taught her how to like talk about, like use the language that people respond to, and that that bodies and spaces talk.
Yeah, it's like, look, we
she
know
was
the
literally in
section we
Bloomberg's
have
fucking
here. Yeah.
administration.
Yeah, and the thing
That
is,
guy put a lot of bodies in a lot of crawl spaces.
and like, but De Blasio got elected from the left wing of that campaign. So there's the thought, hey, there's.
But he
there's
didn't do that for the
possibility.
most part. Like he didn't.
No, yeah,
talk like that grad student shit.
he just got out
It was
there.
because
and
it was
like,
earlier though. That hadn't
Yeah.
developed yet. He
Right,
would
you're
have.
right. That was a while ago.
He would have if it was around yet, but it was still bubbling and crock-potting on Tumblr and in the academy. But yeah, if the Bungalow was coming out now, he would be coming out hard. He'd be playing the ones and twos, the bodies and spaces.
No, De Bungalow is an auteur. Like he would have. There's something I love about him where it's like he's like if Tommy Wiseau like won the Oscar. Like it's like the fact that he became mayor is fucking amazing, and it's like I like every time I see like a journalist bitch about him, it's like I'm like, okay, is this about real estate development, like something important? It's like, no, I can't park my mom's car in front of a union pool, like some like super specific New York bullshit. And it's like, you know what? I've decided I like this guy sheerly because of how uncharismatic he is.
It
It's
is
impressive.
astounding. A guy that tall.
He sucks, just like any Democrat who runs the city would suck, probably for pretty much the same reasons. But like, as a guy, amazing.
He's the DeBungalow, and we love
I love DeBungalow, and he beat the Trump virus.
And he
you
defeated
can't
the
take
Trump
that away.
virus.
You can't take that away. Best mayor in America, New York #1, lifelong New Yorker since 2015.
I mean, and he certainly, it's like if you put a contest to Governor Andrew Cuomo, it's not a contest.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Bill DeBungalow would never like hug a woman and then like bite her ear a little bit and be like, do you know my friend Janet? You look like if she was taller. Can I try to pick you up? I'm gonna pick you up.
I guess like just like the last thing with the New York City mayor's race. This was like a couple weeks ago, but I thought it was so funny. This was back in like Andrew Yang hadn't fucking taken a nosedive.
my God.
Which happened, by the way, right after he said he stands with Israel.
Yeah.
Which I guess I don't know if one thing is related to the other, but in New York City for that to happen, that's not nothing.
It is interesting. I mean, I kind of do think that
I think it was mostly
his
just people.
accumulated gaffes and oafery kind of took the bloom off the
I think
rose.
most
David
people
Roth
just-
was right when it's like he should have like never talked about issues.
Oh, absolutely no. He blew it. He was winning on name recognition, and it was all a question of whether the snowball was going to melt under the heat before the election day. And he needed to keep it moving with goofy stunts and cringe, not fucking talking about the issues and be like, what if we put a dogfighting casino on Randall's Island
Yeah. Yeah.
that only takes Bitcoin?
He like if he was just like, I'm going to bring back Mango Jewel. Like this,
Yeah.
we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
No, he would be mayor now.
Yeah.
They would have just said we're not even having.
Yeah, and the bungalow would be like, "Hey, that's against the." Oh, all right.
I know. It's like
I would be the one guy who's like, I'm like his onion. I'm like the bungalow's onion knight.
But, I mean,
he's Stannis, and I'm his onion knight.
I will defend Andrew Yang like only in so much as I think a lot of the ways people have been trying to catch him out, just being like, he's not a real New Yorker, is like the shit that I can't stand like more than I hate like all of this debate about like a real New Yorker would never eat pizza that way. It's like shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Because like there was one
annoying.
example where they're like, "What's your favorite subway station, Andrew?" And he was like, "Oh, probably
The way
Times
Donald
Square.
Trump
It's
eats
my stop.
pizza.
It's where I live." And it's like, oh, it's weird that he lives in Times Square.
Yeah,
like,
that's a hell of a move.
That's fucking bizarre. That seems like a fucking nightmare to me.
Name a better way to be within walking distance to the M&M store. Like it's like I have the gym, he has the M&M store.
It would be funny if he's just like clockwork, 6 o'clock every night, walks to the M&M store.
He probably does. He probably fucking does that.
Yeah, but who has a favorite subway
Well,
station?
that's the point. Like
No
the
one.
actual real New Yorker answer to what is your favorite subway station is none of them.
The one that I
they're
just
all suck.
left
They all
because I'm
the
They're
one I
all,
just left. yeah.
they're all wet all the
Yeah,
time.
they're dank.
They're
It's not
always
like-
the
it's
wrong
not like
They're
temperature.
so
Moscow.
dank.
They're
It's not
wait,
like Moscow or even like DC.
Yeah,
They're
where there's
disgusting.
where there's one of them happens to have a beautiful vaulted ceiling and like a gorgeous marble fucking like tiling or I don't know like architecture, chandeliers or whatever. It's like no, they're all a dank urine-soaked hellhole.
Yeah.
They're all miserable.
Andrew Yang, who's your favorite Ock? Where does your
I was
Ock
like-
work?
And there's one other thing I want to defend Andrew on, even though I hope more than anything he is not mayor of New York City. It was the New York Times and they give like stupid quizzes to candidates. That was when like Sean Donovan, Obama's fucking former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, asked what the average home price in Brooklyn is, said $100,000.
the fucking HUD secretary.
I miss you, a
HUD
bungler.
secretary.
Just too good.
Oh man. So but when Andrew Yang did it was clear that he was just looking up answers on his phone. Fucking snitches and tattletales. Like the other candidates and journalists were like, should we let Andrew get away with that? It's just like, of course he was. The other candidates are fucking morons for getting
Yeah.
caught up like that and answering $100,000 instead of just looking on their phone for half a
If you
second.
fail the take-home test,
Yeah.
you just leave school.
Yeah.
Leave.
Well, New York City will still be awaiting us tomorrow when we
And
return.
it's
I'm so
beautiful
excited.
Buzzing. I'll
Yeah.
be coming too. I'll be diving back into its luscious
We'll be
expanse.
doing our first live event, or streaming event rather, but Frequency Fest tickets still
Live
available.
streaming
A
event is what
live
they call
streaming event. It's a fucking killer lineup. We've got a very interesting sort of LA or sort of Hollywood based concept for you guys.
Yeah.
Me and Andrew have also written a truly repulsive thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, they've really they've got some Necronomicon style
It's
stuff.
disgusting.
It's from the dark reaches.
This is the darkness of humanity.
Yeah,
what you're getting-
if anyone who tunes in to Frequency Fest is getting fully hollow.
yeah, no.
They're going to be fully hollow.
You will become a pale shade of Londor.
All right, guys. Well, it's been so awesome being here in California, but
We love it.
We'll be back on the East Coast soon. But cheers to you guys. It's been so much fun hanging out here with you guys.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
good to be back together as a triumvirate.
Well, we'll be back.
COVID's over,
We'll
baby.
be doing shuttle diplomacy from now on.
Indeed, yes.
Like it's no. I like, as I've said a million times this week. I can't live here because I would kill somebody with a car. Everyone
would.
knows it. I would do it either by accident or more justifiably on purpose because I got frustrated. Someone was watching me parallel park and I murdered them with my car. But no, we'll be back and forth. I like visiting here. It's fun.
It's been fantastic. I've had so much fun this past week.
We have too many friends out here
But,
to like not come here multiple times
and most
a year.
fun of all is just being with you guys again. It's been awesome.
It's beautiful. It's like 16 again. We had the experience. We went from being Gurnier to Spears.
Veterans.
It's like 2016, but now we've. Woo! All right.
Yeah.
College.
So glad we all fucked up in 2018. 100 area.
Snatched the glasses right off my face. Took the keys to my BMW. Left me here to take his place. I wish the ape a lot of success. I'm sorry my apartment's a mess. Most of all, I'm sorry if I made you blue. I'm betting the gorilla will too. They say Jesus will find you wherever you go. But when he'll come looking for you to keep your profile low. Gorilla, you're a desperado.
I never heard that song before. What was that all about? Oh gosh, I really shouldn't. I really shouldn't. Gorilla, you're a desperado. Put that thing on.
In the rear with the gear.
That's not like I'm really gonna watch it. Might be. Oh.
What's going on? Bad news? I'm going.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, it's going pretty well there. I kind of wanted to hear this one.
Hey everybody, it's your boy Will here, fresh in the middle of my California sojourn. They're going to be watching Standard Time, so tune in, hang out. We'll be dropping by, busting.
In a not so distant
bustin'.
future, where being horny is illegal.
Sarah, go again.
In a not so distant future, where the hot director is also in the movie he made.
All right, Matt.
In a world where crying is not just gay, it's also illegal.
All I wanna be is El Chapo. Yo, 2-hour break or something. SRFMF 13.
so,
Chapo fanboy.
In 2002, America was reeling from 9/11. We didn't know where we were on feelings. We didn't know if they were good or bad. It was, George W. Bush made a speech about how, like, they didn't know if they were going to outlaw feelings or not, because that's why 9/11 happened, is feelings. People felt like they wanted the gold at the bottom of the Black Eagle Trust in Tower 1 and to burn all the insurance documents of the Black Eagle Trust gold in Tower 7. But then an amazing man came along, a man named Kurt Wimmer, who's beautiful, and he came up with the greatest movie of all time. I can describe this film, Equilibrium, as if John Hamm's character in 30 Rock tried to write Philip K. Dick.
I would describe it as a nearly 2-hour adaptation of the original Apple TV commercial directed by Ridley Scott, where
Yes.
conformity is smashed by personal computing devices. Folks, we've been talking about some heavy shit the last couple episodes. Israel, Palestine, the secret military of Six Flags guys who are doing false flag terrorist attacks across America.
This is the secret military.
So for today's episode, we thought we'd switch things up a little bit and induct a movie into the CHAPO canon that longtime fans of the show will realize that we have been referencing for a long time now. And
6 years.
Yeah, it's probably Felix's favorite movie.
Yes.
It's as he mentioned, it's equal in 2002 as part of the sort of Matrix knockoff boom. But in fact, it is better than the Matrix and better than most movies ever made.
Yeah. So this is like, there are 3 greatest movies ever. They're all tied. Butterfly Effect, Alpha Dog, and Equilibrium.
Well, we're gonna get into it today, but joining us for this episode in our foray into feelings, it's Sarah Squirm, everybody.
I have a lot of feelings. Lock me up, honey.
So yeah, this is Equilibrium, directed by Kurt Wimmer.
Yes.
Kurt Wimmer, starring Christian Bale, Taye Diggs, and Emily Watson. Like I said, this is very much people thought this was going to be the next Matrix, but essentially American society was too stupid to understand this movie and appreciate it for what it is. But I think we're going to give it its proper due today. But before we start, Felix, you mentioned that you liked this movie so much when you first saw it, you showed it to your parents when you were 12.
I in fact did. I was obsessed with this movie when I was 12. I had like some like bullshit job that you give 12-year-olds, like getting your neighbor's mail, and I would use it to just buy like shit. I would like go to Chinatown and buy a katana, like buy an Army Ranger's knife online that my mom would confiscate, or like the DVD.
It's like in a Chicago suburb.
And I was so obsessed.
You pay like
$150.
$150.
It was so fucking sick.
Go to the
that I would
mailbox.
like watch this with director's commentary with
Like
Kurt
every day
Wimmer.
he gets-
Like when I was going to sleep, I would put it on my computer and then just lie in my bed and listen to Kurt Wimmer go, yeah, and if you look at the symbol on the muzzle flashes, it's actually the Tetragrammaton cleric symbol. It's very cool. And I'd be like, what a great director. And then I think, like, I forgot how I even, like, managed to do this, because it's like, well, we liked action movies in my house. Like, my dad loved action movies, and, one of the first R-rated movie I saw was just, like, Terminator 2 was on the TV when I was, like, a little kid. So I was like, I think I sold it that way. I was like, oh, this is like Terminator 2. And I was basically like, no, we have to watch this as a family. And my parents are like, what the fuck?
Like when
what is
AJ
this?
Soprano gave his mom the Matrix DVD.
It's exactly like that. It's yeah.
I was gonna wrap it, but it's wasteful to the environment.
Well, okay, so for those of you who don't know, Equilibrium, I mean, like, basically, how should I describe this movie? It's sort of like, what if there were a society where everything worked and nothing was fucked up? I mean, like, we live in sort of a dystopian freaking hell world here.
Yeah.
But what if we lived in a totally normal world?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the problem with everything in human society, one thing, feelings.
It's feelings.
Yeah.
It's feelings. So what if we just got rid of feelings?
If we got rid of feelings, we would all be able to walk around wearing the same outfits, not making eye contact, going about our jobs, everything very chill and cool, listening to giant speakers and the holograms of dudes telling us that it's cool not to have feelings, and we would all be doing great.
Yeah, so in Equilibrium, they live in a place called Libria, and it's like most of humanity seems to have been wiped out by World War III, and their response is to basically make everyone take Lexapro.
Yeah.
They have to take this thing called I think it's just
Prosium.
lithium.
It's called
Prosium.
Yeah.
They're really going there light touch there with Prosium.
Yeah, and it's like everyone has to shoot these vials into their necks, and everyone, I don't even know where anyone works. They're all wearing like boiler suits. It's like a crowd of people wearing boiler suits going to different gray buildings, and it's like, okay, well, what is your job? I don't-
Most of the population in Libria works at the hall of walking in single file.
yeah.
From what we see, the job they all have is killing people who have feelings.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
the Make Work project. We divide humanity into two parts: people with feelings and them without, and then the ones without just kill the ones who have feelings.
And like
then that's the economy.
The only like, I guess you'd call it entertainment is like listening to the same speech by like the administrator Breen type figure father who like looks like a guy he's the opposite of Martin Noakes, who sang The Trial of Tony Blair, my favorite song. And like every day he just does this speech where it's like, mankind only wants war, but when you have feelings, war becomes as simple as drinking a glass of water. So what if we work together, not for war, but for peace? And it's just like, he's apparently been doing this speech every day for like 20 years, like while everyone's going to their job in the incineration hall.
The Big Brother character in this movie looks as if like Steve Jobs didn't do that diet where he ate only vegetables.
So yeah, as the film begins, it lets you know that in the first years of the 21st century, a third world war broke out, and mankind knew that it could never survive a fourth. And we get a sort of montage of Stalin and Saddam Hussein, and it was sort of like, how do we stop these feelings
guys
monsters?
who have these feelings.
Yeah, that's why Saddam was bad, was his feelings.
He was too in his feelings.
Yeah, so how do we stop them? Well, the answer is they invented something called the Grammaton clerics.
And like the Grammaton clerics, they do a form of karate known as gun kata, where they're like, they can kill the maximum amount of people in the room by like waving their guns around their way.
And then also
It
avoid
imagines the
return
gun.
gunfire.
Yeah.
It imagines the gun as a total weapon.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Through analysis of thousands of recorded gunfights, the cleric has determined that the geometric distribution of antagonists in any gun battle is a statistically predictable element.
The gun cutter treats the gun as a total weapon, each fluid position representing a maximum kill zone, inflicting maximum damage on the maximum number of opponents, while keeping the defender clear of the statistically traditional trajectories of return fire.
A lot of people think of a gun as just something that like fires a bullet at a target. No. It's so much more than that.
You flip it around. You move it around. There's a little there's a button you can press that puts little spokes that come out of the end of the clip, so you can punch people in the head with it.
Yeah.
And you can use it for a bunch of different things.
But the Tetragrammaton's clerics, their job is to like go into this region called the Nethers, which is like an exurb of Libria, where like everyone who looks like, guys who have been on Caroline Calloway's Instagram story, like they all listen to Captain and Tennille and cry because like their job is to kill these guys who aren't taking Lexapro. they kill like 70,000 of these guys a day.
Yeah, they're very proud of the civilization they've created that doesn't have any war. It just has a daily gunfight that kills 500 people.
For the crime of chuckling to yourself, reading a Funky Winker Bean column that had been sort of secreted into the Librian society.
Yeah. Sir, we found the original press of Jesse's Girl. Let's execute 1.3 million people who heard it.
We have to kill these people before they release all the snappy answers to stupid questions into the water supply.
Yeah, we're going to get into it, but they're like, the culture that they're called sense offenders in the movie that they have is so awesome. Like, it's just shit. Like, it just sucks.
And you could tell when someone's a sense pest when they're wearing ripped jeans.
Yeah, the thing they have in common is that they hoard crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, honestly, it's a war on hoarding really more than a war on feelings. Because, like, in the Tetragrammatron Society and the Grammatron clerics, like, they live in houses just very minimalist. They got no decor, no posters, no art, no kitsch anywhere. It's just sort of very flat, gray beds and, and then mirrors with no frames on them.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah. But, the way you rebel is like, you're like, I'm going to listen to a Chicago record in an abandoned IKEA that I live in. They're like, it's like DIY people versus like Germans. That's how I would describe this movie. It's like all the rebels are like the DIY guys who are like, it's like 2021 and they're like, I'm still with the punk spirit. Part of that is like trying to trick 17-year-olds into moving into this building that I live in and like having it burned down and saying that it's not my fault.
The rebels live in kitsch apartments, and the clerics live in Wayfair apartments, and that's the big divide.
Yeah, everything, like all the clothes for the Tetragrammaton clerics are like if they made Reformation dresses for men.
They wear gator waiter suits.
Yeah.
So the film begins with like a sort of a SWAT raid on a Feelings house.
Yeah.
And like so like they got the SWAT team there, and then they're like the site is secure, sir. Like and then Christian Bale and his partner, his fellow Grammatron cleric, played by Sean Bean, show up, and they're like, we got this. And then they like basically they're like they've secured the hallway, and there's like a secure door where behind it the Feelings criminals are, and Christian Bale runs at it, kicks it down, and then stands in total darkness for like a good 3 seconds while people are like, wait, what's going on? I can't see anything. And then he uses gun kata to kill all of them.
Yeah.
And again, gun kata is when, you've heard of punching, you've heard of kicking, but what if you're punching and kicking with a gun?
That's it.
Yep.
That's 3 times the lethality.
We should talk a little bit about Christian Bale in this role. Christian Bale as the Grammaton cleric John Preston. Basically, he's like Neo, but better, because he has hair like Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, and this is like, make no mistake, like you may think we're like making fun of the premise of the movie, but this is what California wants to do with the pandemic. This is what Newsom wants.
So yeah, the Feelings traders, they're executed on site, but like they find a huge stash of music and art, including like they tear up the floorboards and they find the Mona Lisa just hidden under the floorboards of this Feelings house.
Yeah,
and you can't let people see that because they're going to start catching feelings.
Yeah.
So they got to.
And they put like a Nokia N-Gage over the Mona Lisa, and it's like scanning 100% real. So sick.
And then they bring in the flamethrower crew and they torch all the feelings.
Yeah,
It's a big part of this movie is that art. It's sort of a meta commentary because this movie is trying to say that art is dangerous and it's dangerous to totalitarian societies. So the first thing they'd want to do is get rid of cool art and music, like Equilibrium and the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, which are the same. Like Equilibrium is to movies as Mona Lisa is to paintings.
Yeah, I mean that's clear.
What's more emo though than burning a bunch of paintings in someone's weird apartment?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's part of it is that all these people, all these feelings cops, they're all sitting on just a volcano of feelings that they can't acknowledge.
Yeah, they're hypocrites, and that's the worst thing they do. Not the. Well, we'll get into who I think the true villain of the movie is. That scene in the yard, like midway through the movie. But yeah.
Ma'am, is that a Mona Lisa in your pocket?
So like I said, Christian Bale and Sean Bean are Grammaton clerics, and they're like the highest level of feelings cop that exists.
Because they know gun kata.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of other cops who just absolutely
They
are
use
like
guns the
red
regular
shirt
way.
oafs, and
They
just
suck.
They have huge machine guns, but they never know how to shoot them. They get killed instantly. But if you're a Grammaton cleric, you have gun kata. You are essentially a one-man WMD.
Yeah, the regular cops carry G36 rifles and wear like, a coat you would wear to Bergheim in 2001, like a big leather trench coat, and it's like if you just run towards them, they'll fall over. Like they're repeatedly killed in this movie by being like slapped on the ear.
But we begin to get all is not well in the perfect no feeling society, because after they execute the sense criminals, they're heading back to the hall of no feelings, the no fun zone, aka the city of Libria, and Christian Bale is sort of like, he's like, hey, like wait, what's that in your pocket? And we see Sean Bean has just sort of like for himself, he just very slyly has put a collection of Yeats's poetry into his leather trench coat. But it's just like he sat down in a car. You know how that is. Like your pocket opens up, your shit falls out of your pocket, and then it's like you have to dig around in the car seats to get it. And it's like, there it is. It's a volume of Yeats's poetry. And Christian Bale is like, hey, aren't we supposed to burn that? Like, what happened to the evidence collection unit? It needs to be all sent to the Hall of Evidence. And he's just like, oh, sometimes they make mistakes. I'm going to take it to the Hall of Evidence personally. And Christian Bale, because he doesn't have that intuition anymore. He's just sort of like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then we get to see Libria, a city of the future. If you've ever wondered why there aren't enough blimps in our society, it's because we have too many fucking feelings screwing it up.
Blimps are like the most efficient way to travel, but
the most efficient way to spread a message. Like,
Don't have
Attention,
feelings. Stop having
citizen.
feelings.
Make sure to take your Lexapro.
yeah. And again, this is like what life is like in New York. This is what the bungalow has done.
No, like the depiction of Libria was very much like Bill de Blasio's New York.
It's exactly like it.
It's just everything is drab and gray, and people are sort of marching in lockstep, and just feeling bad but not willing to say anything about it.
Yeah.
And there's blimps saying,
Just take your pills.
take your pills and get a Metro card.
Yeah. Those the schizophrenic intuition you have, they're delusions. They're schizophrenic delusions.
And like the giant screens that indoctrinate society are saying things like, there is a disease in the heart of man, and it needs to be cured with the opium of the masses.
Yeah, no, they call the pill or the vial that everyone has to take the opiate of the masses, and it's like you really get the sense of the kind of guy Kurt Wimmer is, which is not like an ideologue, but he's just like vaguely picked up things from history. Like someone told him something from like the like big red book of communism, and someone told him something from like Nazi Germany. And like, so he just vaguely remembered the phrase opiate of the masses, and he's like, oh, that's what a dictator would say about a thing he likes.
No, it's sort of like, when you get on the subway, it's like, stand clear of the closing doors. Except in this society, it says things like, feelings lead to... Wait, no, it says, art leads to feeling, and feeling leads to war. If you see anyone enjoying art, kill them on sight. And my favorite part in, like, the scene where they're introducing you to this, like, terrible dystopian society is, like, there's just a sea of people just sort of, like, drudging in gray color, looking at the floor, and then above them all there's just this random child who just points out an old man who's immediately carried away to be executed. This is just a child who's like, he's got feelings.
Yeah, he saw like an old man frowning, and it's like, no, we have to kill him, or in like a year there's going to be war.
So essentially Christian Bale is the head of the feelings police, and the movie is sort of his journey to become the Chris Dorner of the feelings police.
yeah.
And the thing is, like, he is as they explain, he is the very best at tracking down sense offenders because he's able to use a sort of non-feeling empathy to imagine and intuit, what someone is thinking or feeling, even if they have a totally blank face and they're just pretending not to. But despite being the best sense cop of all time, we learned that his wife was incinerated for sense crimes 4 years ago. She was doing sense crime right under his nose, and despite and then like the bad guy played by Angus McFadden, who was Robert the Bruce in Braveheart, and the main guy in Saw 3. He says, he's like, oh, pretty weird that you're a top sense cop and your wife was catching feels on the low. Why didn't you report her? Or why didn't you see it? And he was like, it's my biggest disappointment, sir. I'll never let it happen again. They're like, okay, well, if you do, you'll be killed.
They have the society where they have banned feelings, and they still have like marriages and nuclear families. Like,
It doesn't really make sense.
It's supposed to work.
Like, yeah, how do you pick the woman that you like love? It's just, or like
No,
that
you
you're gonna
can't.
get married.
No, you're going to jail if you even said that. No.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because like they introduced this, and then like there's all these things where like Angus McFadden, the bad guy, keeps trying to catch him out by just being like, how does that make you feel, Cleric Preston? And he's just like, well, not like much. And they're like, really, not much, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, everybody, it seems like a very stressful work environment because every interaction is someone trying to test you.
Well, that's how
into
they get
giving
you.
up a
There's no
feeling.
such thing as stressful.
Yeah.
But
You fell into the trap.
Damn it.
But they like break their own rules all the time because like people will randomly like yell at each other over feeling stuff or like smile when they think they've caught somebody feeling. But it's like, no, that's you, dude.
Yeah, you
You're
just did a feeling.
They're
You
like,
did
he's like,
feelings.
Cleric Preston, what would you say if I said that 100 citizens were caught passing around a secret copy of Dave Barry's Guide to Guys and having a chuckle to themselves? Well, I don't feel anything, sir. Really, you feel nothing about that? You don't even feel anger? Well, maybe a little bit. Send him to the Hall of Combustion.
That's the only thing this society does is just like execute people. It's their entire economy.
Yeah, pretty much every job in Libria is in some form of processing people from interrogation to execution.
Yeah, it seems like there are actually more people who are sense rebels than there are like, citizens
Grammaton
of Libria.
clerics.
Yeah.
So Angus McFadden like sort of puts the idea in his head that like, oh, there's sense criminals all around you, and you're too stupid to notice it. So, of course, he thinks back, hey, what was it with my partner just taking that book for himself?
Yeah.
So he tracks Sean Bean to the local abandoned cathedral in the Nethers where people go to read, and he catches him in there, and he's of course reading, he's reading Yeats, he's reading Sailing to Byzantium and having a little cry to himself, thinking about the birds in the trees, and then he's just like, he's like, I've been feeling stuff for years, dude. And then he just and then Christian Bale executes him by shooting him through a book in his face.
Yeah, and you could tell like Kurt Wimmer was like thought that was the sickest thing
And
in the
I shall
world.
go to
like in his mind, it's
Innisfree and
you know,
shot
he
in the
would
face.
if you showed Kurt Wimmer like street art where it's like a kid is stopping a soldier's bullet by putting a book in the barrel of his gun, he would like break down in tears because it's like, oh yeah, would you die for knowledge?
It's like, okay, think of a poem. Yeats. Okay, think of a painting. The Mona Lisa. Think of music. What's the best music? Beethoven.
yeah, everything. I think that's why, like, I loved it so much as a 12-year-old because it's like that. When you're like a kid, it's like, oh, I wonder what smart people listen to. Probably Beethoven, Moonlight Sonata.
So he executes his partner for sense crime.
What the fuck is wrong with Beethoven?
And then of course he gets a new partner, played by Taye Diggs, who
Frederick Jameson thinks he's pretty cool.
He's like the biggest prick. You know, he's like he's
And
clearly like
Adorno.
he sees Christian Bale as like, oh, he's the top cleric, but I'm going to be the #1 daddy of the Tetragrammatron. But he
think
can't
of
help
some
but like
smart people.
smirk all the
Adorno,
time. I don't know if this.
Jameson.
Well, I mean, maybe it is intentional because we'll get to the end of this movie. There's a little twist.
Yeah.
But a big theme in this movie.
There's a couple of twists.
This is like the most confusing
It's like they're
movie
trying to
ever
identify
made.
with a lot of
You have
people.
to be pretty
at
intelligent
once.
to follow the plot of this movie.
Yeah.
It's like when I first saw Mission Impossible, the first Mission Impossible as a kid, and I was like, that was awesome, but like never in a million years will I understand what took place in that movie because it's just too complicated.
No, I saw that movie when I was 6, and I like got mad. I'm pretty sure I like cried alone, like watching it in a room with a TV because I didn't understand it.
So then he starts having dreams because one of the last things Sean Bean says to him, he's like, you're treading on my dreams, which I believe is a line from Yeats. I don't know exactly which poem it is, but Kurt Wimmer certainly knows. So
Like a
he's like, "Do you have
long-legged
dreams?"
fly upon the
He's like,
stream.
Not since I started taking Prosium. And he goes, "Well, you're treading on my dreams." And then he shoots him in the face. So, but he starts having dreams, and he has a flashback to his wife being arrested for sense offense.
All gone.
And she kisses him before she's taken away to the. She kisses him, and then but like he doesn't really register that much. But he's like his emotional glaciation is
Just a
beginning
little
to
slurpy
thaw
slurp.
out.
And then we learned that it was actually like a role play thing, and that they were having an orgy with all the cops that came to arrest them. That was like the last act of being a sex nerd in Libria.
What did she do to get sent to sex crimes jail?
They don't say. They just say that she had feelings.
I don't know. She
caught feelings,
she
bro.
kept a piece
caught
of
feels.
colored fabric in her pocket, which she touched from time to time.
Yeah,
She was not afraid to catch
It
feels.
seems it's amazing they don't execute more people because it's like the way you get revealed is like, yeah, it's like, oh, you have an Uncle John's bathroom reader, like just out in your house. We have to kill you.
Well, they execute a lot of women because women be feeling.
Yeah, there are like no women.
Yeah, there's like there is 2 women portrayed in this entire society. One his dead wife, and then Emily Watson, who sort of looks like his dead wife.
Yeah,
That's it. So yeah, but also his son is like the most evil snitch of all time because his son is like the overlord of the apartment, who's like the no color, no adornment apartment that they live in. His son
Oh,
is
they
just
were on
always watching him like a
patrol.
hawk.
I
just
had
being
my
like,
whole Air
Dad,
Force on
did you
patrol."
take your Prosium? And then it all starts to go wrong, or good, depending on how you look at the movie. When he's brushing his teeth and he drops his vial and it shatters on the ground before he can dose his neck with it. And then his son sees that and he's like, "You'll be going to Equilibrium tomorrow and reporting this, right, Father?" And he's like, "Yes, son, you're a good citizen for noticing this." But the first part of his rebellion is that he notices what an annoying little shit his son is, and he feels mad about it.
Yeah, that's his first feeling.
That's his first foray into sense crime.
and that is a message to like anyone who's listening who has kids. You are like you're rebelling against the system if you like don't like your kid.
It's true. You're expected to appreciate your children. And if you don't, that just shows your resistance.
Yeah.
I don't know how to weave this in, but I just have a note here that says Mayor Bloomberg. All human conflict comes from a desire for soda.
Yeah. That's what we say, that this is Bloomberg's New York. And he was just,
totally
that's
right,
what it was
though.
like when in like 2008, he would just
expected
get on
to.
big TVs and be like, all wars
expected
started
to
because
perform
both
a
sides
certain
wanted
way.
to
There's
acquire
no
big
doubt about
gulps. And,
All
like,
wars
tons
started.
of
But
NYPD
it's like, hey,
officers, they saw their
listen.
wives executed because they were hoarding soda. They would tear down a false wall
As
in
a
the house. They would like
parent,
pull
you
out
do
a
have
book on
to
a
perform a
bookshelf.
certain
There's just a
You
room
will
full
be
of like
executed.
Mountain Dew.
yeah, Surge.
Again, it gets all
Well,
down to
he's
that
on
kind
to
of
something because soda does make you too sugar candy hyper, and that's a feeling.
Well, yeah, that's how we created the Sistine Chapel, things like that with soda. Soda is like, yeah, it occurs in nature and it's good for us.
Felix has vials of soda that he shoots into his neck so he can do good podcasts good.
Yeah, you're like annoying little shit son walking by you and see that you drop soda on the ground. You will be reporting to Costco tomorrow to pick up more Coke Zero.
Okay, so
Yuck.
so he's off with his new partner, Tay Diggs. And then, to arrest Emily Watson, who was a woman who has gone off her dose and has an illegal mirror frame, which they break immediately. But of course, she also has a secret feelings cave filled with, Funko Pops and Garfield collections and things like that. And they take her off, but Christian Bale's like, no, we need her alive. I want to interrogate her. Because he's off his meds too, and he's starting to have feelings and dreams, and he's sort of like pulling down the weird latex cover on his bathroom window so he can look at rain and feel shit. So and then he starts doing little acts of rebellion, like moving the stapler on his desk to a different corner. And he's like, I'm just trying to optimize my working space, fellow citizen.
Yeah, there's it when he goes to the office, like doing the thing where every person who lives in Librio walks in the same tunnel every day. He his lower lip starts moving and he's like, no, I have to do this. And he takes off his glove and feels the railing. It's just a very weird way to show him.
Yeah, he starts wanting to touch people on public transit.
Yeah.
It's very reckless because he starts doing stuff like moving his stapler around. Meanwhile, everybody else at the Feelings Cop headquarters, every time they see you, they're just like, hey, guy with feelings says what?
Yeah. He's the worst. He's the worst at hiding that he's a feeling rebel of all. He sucks at it.
But do you think that that's sort of we were laughing about it in the movie because he is the more he starts to try to cover for the way he's feeling, the worse he is at it.
Yeah.
He
just gets feelings all over them.
Yeah, he's he's snickering to himself when he sees a feeling cop trip and fall. He's like, oh fuck, gotta go keep this in. But wouldn't that make sense to someone who's never had feelings? He wouldn't be very good at hiding them.
Right.
That is what most of our listeners are like when they move out of their parents'
Then there's many scenes in this movie are just more and more SWAT raids on feelings caves.
Yeah,
they go to the feeling glory hole and they just sort of peek through and just catch a little suck of feeling.
Yeah, but there's this one of the feelings raids that they do. He'll go into a feeling hidden room that's tucked away somewhere deep, and he'll put on Beethoven and just start. It's awesome.
You said when he finds an old record player and of course Beethoven. So,
yeah.
You can't listen to Beethoven.
That's the heavy shit. That's Fent.
Well, no, he said it's like when cops accidentally OD on Fent.
It's the variations.
It's
the variations that get you.
Yeah.
Dude, when I see a snow globe of Paris, a place I've never been, I start crying like a baby.
Oh yeah, he listens to Beethoven and picks up a snow globe of Paris, and it's too much for him to handle.
Yeah, it's just imagining him going to a fucking a bookstore at a airport and just falling onto his knees.
Just taking out a cat o' nine tails and whipping yourself because you're reading a Michael Crichton novel.
And then in my
okay,
my
now you've
scene
come
in the
down a
movie,
couple steps from
not
Beethoven, in my
it'd be
opinion.
bad enough. Filthy sense criminals. Were
See,
just,
this is where they're just trying to be too contrarian.
Old copies of Penthouse and whatnot. But
Beethoven
and
and
dogs. Oh no!
They are kind of pretty stock entries, but
like the funniest thing, like there's a lot of funny shit with the dog scene. Well,
So
first
funny.
of all,
Like-
it's a good scene because it introduces like a moral complexity to the movie where it's
You
like
should have had a
up
lower
until this
Leonard
point you thought the
Cohen,
Tetragrammaton
song.
clerks were bad because they're just like killing feelings criminals
It's
for
a piece of
you know
mass pop
like
trash.
listening to Journey, but now it's like well now they actually are fighting like a societal evil of dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like it is funny during that scene because like they find the dogs and like they've only been doing this for like 20 years and Tay Diggs is like why do they have them to eat them? And it's like we would remember why we had dogs. You fucking idiot.
No, they've suppressed all knowledge of dogs. They're like, they don't even have a word for it. They're like, what are these things?
Yeah. They like they're like they show photos like later in the movie of like Sean Bean hanging out with Emily Watson, and they're wearing like normal clothes, and it's not Libria, and it seems to be like 10 years ago. And it's like you haven't been doing this, like you would remember what a dog was. Like if you know what World War I and World War II and World War III were, it would be like, oh, we like had these as companions when we had emotions.
Well, you know what? I mean, they remember what dogs are at least enough to know what to do with a dog.
That's
which is
true.
shoot them on sight.
Yeah.
To line them up and gun them down.
And we've seen like hundreds of people get mowed down with bullets, but then suddenly Preston sees the threat of a puppy being murdered, and that's when he loses it.
Yeah, no, they find this. I think it's like a Burmese mountain dog
Yeah.
puppy, and they're like, again, he's like. 30 SWAT guys have their guns ready to go, and he's picked up this dog and is looking at it directly in his eyes. His lip quivers.
Yeah.
Just he's like, "Mm." And then he's like, citizen, I'm taking this dog to processing myself.
yeah. I have a special dog execution chamber at my house. Well, yeah, the excuse he gives is
He's like, there's a lot of diseases at the Nethers.
Yeah.
They're spreading diseases. So I'm going to interrogate this thing.
Yeah, he was going to test it for a disease by taking it into the city, with just holding it.
we were laughing like after they kill all the dogs. Tay Diggs is like, sir, we found several barrels of peanut butter in the back of this compound.
That's how they jumpstart the feeling.
Yeah.
Well, when Kurt Warmer was like, "What's the worst thing I could ever possibly imagine in my entire imagination?" It's a bunch of puppies dying.
Yeah.
Before we get to do the peanut
And,
butter
like-
trick with them.
Yeah, like 75,000 people die in this movie. Like
So,
every scene.
So like, so there's a scene where like he like later that night or like a couple days later, he's in his and what is it about like the cars they drive in this, or just like an all white Toyota Corolla?
Yeah, it'll be like a Camry that has like like a boxier frame put on it because that's like the least emotional car. It's like if you drove a Subaru, that's an emotion and you need to be killed. Yeah.
I have a Subaru. God damn it! All right, so he's leaving Libria. And he's going through a checkpoint. And he's like, Cleric Preston going to the Nethers to do some official business. They're like, okay, sir. Have a no feelings day. Bye. So he goes there, but Tay Diggs is following him because Tay Diggs, of course, is like very suspicious because he's like, why is this guy snickering to himself and being emo? Why is he looking like sort of like longingly at windows when it's raining and stuff like that? So he's like he's secretly followed into the Nethers. It's like the bad part of town. And he thinks no one's around, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And then he opens the trunk of his car, his white Toyota Corolla, and he's had the cute puppy in there for days.
Yeah.
He's kept the puppy. He's hidden the puppy away from the thought police in the trunk of his car. But because this is Libria, there's no music. The dog doesn't have any music to listen to.
None of his favorite
It's
music.
just a hot trunk of a car.
With a bunch of guns inside. The dog's just like fucking around in there with all these guns lying around.
Well, I mean, that is like one thing that's true in Libria, also true in our society. The trunk is the dog's favorite part of the car. It's where they love hanging out.
So like he takes the puppy out of the trunk of the car and is gonna let it loose because he's like, hey, like go on, get. I don't have any. I don't know what to do with you. And then of course the puppy like once it's imprinted on you, it's just gonna follow you around. He probably already fed it, and he's just looking at him with his puppy eyes. But no. Thought police show up, feelings cops show up, and they roll up in a huge dump truck, and they're like, "Halt, citizen!
Yeah,
stay right there. What are you doing?"
And this is where the real movie starts.
Yeah,
like the meat of this movie is Tetragrammaton cleric John Preston just murdering cops by like the thousands, and these parts are actually sick because like there's like you think he's gonna get away with it because like the head like street sergeant of the feelings cops are like, "Oh, I didn't recognize you, Cleric Preston. Carry on."
Oh yeah, wait. I saw this guy. I saw this guy on a blimp yesterday, telling me not to turn into thought criminals.
Yeah, my bad. My bad, Cleric Preston. But then they hear like a bark, like a little puppy's like yelp.
And he was like, "That's just my ringtone."
Yeah. And then like instantly they're like, "He's a sex offender. Stop him!" But Christian Bale just like, because these are like the worst cops of the Tetragrammaton. Christian Bale just takes out his 2 like Desert Eagles and just smokes like 10 of them.
Captain, I'm asking you one last time. Don't do this.
Down underneath! Down underneath! Do it! Do it! Shoot him! On the ground! Shoot him! Shoot him!
Which is, to be fair to this movie, Christian Bale is able to repeatedly kill all these guys because they're like, okay, we have these long G36 rifles. Let's all stand 2 inches away from him in a circle where we can't even like extend our guns, and he can just beat the shit out of us with karate.
Well, their mobility is limited because they're all wearing Daft Punk helmets and long leather BDSM trench coats, so they're not really good at fighting.
No, they suck. Like it honestly reflects poorly on the rebels that it's like their plan is basically like, your plan should basically be like, just run at these guys. They can move like 20 degrees a minute.
It does really seem to suggest that the only person who was keeping the no feelings dictatorship alive was Christian Bale.
Yeah, everyone else sucks.
Like everyone else sucks bad.
Yeah.
I mean, honey, have you seen those muscles? Hello.
That's the other thing. That's the only thing I didn't like about this movie. It doesn't explain, like, he doesn't, like, you can't get a body like Christian Bale's in this movie and not do weights, and all he does is, like, karate.
Yeah, Felix will be starring in the sequel to Equilibrium called Equinox.
Well, this is like, if you go to Equinox, it looks like Libria.
And it's just drab and depressing as well.
Yeah, like, no, when I check in there, they're like, how do you feel coming here? And I'm like, I don't.
Would you like a guest pass? No. Correct. You pass.
I've turned in a lot of feelings criminals who, hang out in the sauna, let's be honest.
The clerk at the desk has a gun under the desk.
Yeah, but except one day I'm going to go there and I'm going to accidentally like hear an Everlast song and like a tear is going to roll down my eye. And then the Equinox clerics will surround me and I'll just beat the shit out of them with a weight bar. Just take a 45 bar and just destroy them.
What's the name of the medicine again? The feelings medicine?
Prosium.
Okay, Prosium. So next time you get emotional at an Equinox, just take your Prosium, which is what, muscle milk?
Yeah. No. Well, at Equinox, they sell some like bullshit muscle milk that like comes in like a Libria type container that's called like, Enliven or something. that costs like, $9. But there's no difference.
So after he saves a puppy from both the trunk of his hot car and 30 feelings cops,
what it's like.
then it's the next day, and he just decides to get it's not weightlifting, but he does a little training. And by training, I mean he's in a big empty room in like the hall of muscles. And
Yeah, the stud hall.
and he's just sort of like doing like he's holding a stick.
Yeah, he's doing like kendo.
He's doing kendo, yeah, and he's waving a stick around. But then, of course, Tay Diggs shows up, and he's just like, "Care to train with me?" And he's like, "I don't care, but I will."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh God, this guy's good."
Yeah.
So they do a kendo like sort of like a stick battle. And Tay Diggs is like, I'm on to you. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about all those feelings cops that got killed in the Nethers last night. He's like, yes, if I was thinking about them, I certainly wouldn't feel anything about it.
Yeah. I remember that scene was like big for me when I was a little kid because it was like, I wanted to like do that in my basement, but there was like a ping pong table there. I don't even know like why I wanted to do that. It's like, oh, in case there's like a feelings dictatorship when I turn like 15.
And
I need 3 years of doing this.
And then Tay Diggs lets him know that, according to like Father, the benevolent overlord of the society, he's like, Father has passed a new decree. There will be no more interrogations of sense offenders. They will be executed on site. It's fucking on site. If you catch any feels, it's on site.
And that was like Christian Bale was using like before when after he stopped taking Lexapro, but like before that, like his way that he would get away with not killing feelings criminals would be like, oh, we have to interrogate them to find more. Like,
And,
yeah,
like,
I have to
he-
waterboard this dog.
And he spends a lot of time with Emily Watson in her like detainment cell, and he's just like she's like, oh, you don't know what the word friend means, and he's like, Webster's defines it as,
Oh.
as a companion,
Does
close
not
associate. Yeah.
Those scenes are awesome because it's just like, it's like Emily Watson and Christian Bale are both like good actors in my opinion, but like the writing is like, it's like they're trying to do their best, but the writing is like, she'll go like, I bet if someone cried in front of you, you wouldn't even know what you were seeing. and he's like, because he's like off his medication, he's like, I do what I do perfectly. Like, so like, there's such weird scenes.
Yeah, she says about the French, she's like, Fred, you don't know what that word means. It's just a feeling you've never felt.
Yeah. And then he starts like crying. Like, it's awesome.
No, this is like Terminator 2, except like it'd be like at the end before he gets lowered into the vat of molten steel. He's like, I still don't know why you cry, and it's still something I can't do. Bye.
Yeah.
So again, like just like another scene in this movie, like Taye Diggs is like, okay, we're doing another raid on a feelings factory. meet you there. Let's tool up. And then like they just drive a dump truck through what looks to be like a sort of like a meth lab for
Yeah, like
for
it looked like they
feelings.
were actually manufacturing feelings.
There's like there's big oil drums and like beakers
Yeah.
and like Erlenmeyer flasks. They're like, it's a fucking raid. Someone hide these feelings.
Yeah.
Every location in this movie is a brutalist building, and the inside looks like the set of Top Chef, or like what's his name, Brundle's lab from The Fly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
every room is that.
Yeah, it's like they don't go into a lot of like. I wish there was more world building in this movie where it's like, okay, like what's food like if you can't have emotions? Like what is the rebel society like? But as far as the rebel society is just like, it's just like a bunch of like sort of like dirty looking guys like who like seem to have like less emotions than the Taye Diggs character.
It's
They
just
have,
like guys with facial hair.
Yeah.
Looking dingy.
Yeah, it's look at these fucking hipsters and their freaking feelings.
Yeah, no, yeah. Every scene they have where they kill all those guys, they're just like completely emotionless. And it's like, okay, well, who's the feeling criminal here?
And then they all just hang out listening to like records, like they're listening to the Snoopy and the Red Baron song while they're flipping through old issues of Good Housekeeping to have feelings and just waiting for the cops to come and murder them. That's all they do. That's all they do.
So like, and then Cleric Preston once again kills like 30 feelings cops, and like the whole army of feelings cops are in just like the next burnt out factory door over.
Yeah.
They're right outside, and he kills like another dozen cops, and then helps the hipster criminals get away. But then Taye Diggs is like, "Thank you for leading them right into my trap."
I just realized why the feelings cops are so bad at fighting. It's because they're not quick to anger because they have no feeling. And like that's what happens when you're on what's it called, Prozac?
Prosium.
When you're on Prosium, you can't be good at like freaking beating up people because you're not quick to anger. I mean, freak.
Yeah, that scene before, like Christian Bale is like clearly leading these rebels out, and he's just like yelling at them as loud as possible, like go, they'll kill you. And the fucking idiot cops stand around him for like 5 minutes and are like, hey, Cleric Preston, what are you doing? And then there was like a 5-minute zoom into Christian Bale's like nose, and then he just like takes out his pistols and beats the shit out of like
After
20 of them.
putting the little metal spike coming out of the end of the butt, which is enough to cave in someone's
Yeah, no, he
entire
stoves
face.
in all their Daft Punk helmets
Yeah.
and destroys them.
I remember like
That's part of Gunkata. That's part of the total weapon system.
me and a group of friends were arguing about that scene, and I was like, no, that's actually smart, because like if that was happening, you wouldn't react quick enough if like a tetragrammaton cleric decided to kill you. And my friends were like, that's a good point.
Felix has spent 30% of his life defending this movie to the death.
No, it was a big part of my childhood, was like telling people about equilibrium and then like them not talking to me anymore.
So yeah, like, and then there's some moment where Taye Diggs is like, perhaps you should execute these feelings traitors, and Christian Bale's like, okay, and then he like gives him the gun back, and he's like, actually, you do it, and then they're just like, all right, fine,
Flawless misdirection. Yeah.
Fine, they're okay with that. And then I forget why, but like he, I don't know, like he finds another feeling stash, and he realizes that Emily Watson and Sean Bean were like lovers because there's a photo of them together with the word freedom written on the back.
This movie fucking owns.
And then he uses that to contact the leader of the underground, played by William Fichtner, who says he's like, I know you've been looking for me. My name is Jurgen. I'm Jurgen, and the leader of the underground. And you could tell it's the underground because they're literally underground. They're watching people's feet walk around up on
the ground.
The gray, drab, boring sidewalk where everyone's going down the same industrial tunnel to their job at the walking in a circle factory.
Yeah, this is like one of the most literal movies I've ever seen. Probably the most.
Oh, and then so he contacts the underground. But before the underground can really start using him, they have to give him a polygraph test. They give him the boner test. They have to make sure that his heart still pumps blood. So they show him some sexy. They show him Lola Bunny from Space Jam and see how sprung he gets for it.
They show him the green M&M and then they ask him the trick question: "Do I make you horny, baby?"
Oh shit.
More food? No, I'm replacing the cookie that I ate. Oh,
okay, yeah. Felix has been eating all of Catherine Streets all week long here.
Uh-oh, Felix is in his feeling. Felix, more like feeling things. You're under arrest.
I pulled a book on the shelf. I pulled that poster of The Godfather, and it opened up a false wall with all these cookies inside of it. I just started weeping, and then my terrible son was like, "I will you will report to Equilibrium tomorrow to replace the cookies."
Then he goes back to Angus McFadden, who's he's the daddy of the society. He's not so Angus McFadden starts getting mad at him, and it's like getting mad at him in a very obvious way, where he's just like, "Cleric Preston, we sent you to infiltrate the resistance. What do you have to show for it?" And he's like, "Nothing yet, sir." And then he punches a table, and he's like, "That's not good enough." And it's just like, wait a second.
Those are feelings, dude.
Wouldn't he get shot on
You are
site?
doing feelings. You're
He's
all
pounding
doing
the
feelings.
table. He's like punching drywall, being like,
Yeah.
He's like, our perfect society is on the brink of collapse. What are you doing here?
I think if I was to go into the mind of one of the leaders, one of the members of the council, as they're known, I would say, look, feelings, they're bad, but some of us can handle it, and we will deserve to be in charge.
We'll see what happens with that. But in order to more fully sort of lead the revolution, Christian Bale takes it upon himself to finally watch the saved footage of his wife's execution. And it's a sort of interesting thing in this society when they take you to the hall of process.
Of combustion.
They take you to go to do busting.
They take you to get busted.
They
That's
take
what
you
they
to
say.
bust. They take you to a room to bust. But before they do that, they put like a red leather hood and cape on you, or like it's sort of like a shiny leather hood and cape.
Yeah.
And then they walk you down a hall, and instead of just shooting you and burning the body, they make you just walk into a closet that is a fire room.
But that's the weirdest thing. They have you put on the leather cape for a minute, and then you have to take it off. It's so there is a secret feelings criminal who established this process because it's so theatrical.
Yeah. Places, everybody.
It's
Places.
it's Lindsey Graham found a place in feelings government.
Well, what's more joyless than the idea of having to reuse all of your ritual capes? It's we don't make custom ones for all the people on death row. We reuse them and sent them to a scary what's it called, dry cleaning factory that looks like a psychiatrist's office or whatever. Every room in there looks like a scary psychiatrist's office.
I guess anyone. That's the only.
Because it all looks like psychiatrist's office because there's no more need for them in the future, so that they've repurposed all their offices into the hall of bussin'.
That's probably what happened. Is the one guy who made the leather cape he had to have been a feelings criminal, and they're like, look, the cape's great for this, but you would have made it just gray if you weren't actually feeling. It's time to put it on. But before they're like, no, wait, no, we can't make another. He was the only guy who knew how to make that.
Yeah. It's the redness of the cloak, it signifies the danger of emotion, and the fact that it's not incinerated just means that there's only one of them, and they have to share it with every one of the feeling criminals that they execute. So Christian Bale watches his wife get murdered and like catches feels about it for the first time ever, and then he's like, "Oh fuck!" And then he walks in a very emotional way, and then starts running. Which in this society, homie, if I catch you in Libya running, it's on sight. You'll be
Yeah, because it's like you would only be running if you were late to somewhere or really wanted to be somewhere.
and
It's like
that's feelings.
you wouldn't be late if you didn't have emotions. Emotions cause lateness.
Yep.
Because you're like, oh, I don't look good enough to leave. That's
So-
a feeling.
So he runs to the Hall of Bussin just in time to see Emily Watson get incinerated in one of the fire closets.
Owned.
And then what does he do? He walks out. He walks down the steps of the Hall of Busing, and then collapses into a fetal position in the middle of the street and starts crying.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when Taye Diggs is like, "You're under arrest." Like everything leading up to this, they were just like it was all one big sting to get him in this one, the most obvious emotional outburst ever.
I actually think the line Taye Diggs says is, "You're under arrest for being a pussy bitch."
Taye Diggs arrests him, and he's like, I told you I'd make my career off you, Preston." And then he takes him before the feelings dictator, Angus McFadden. But he's like, "I told you I would get the leader of the resistance and bring him to you, right?" And he's like, "Yes, you did." And he goes like, "Well, I just did." And then everyone looks at Taye Diggs, and they're like, the gun you're carrying that says John Preston on the bottom of it was the one used to kill all those cops in the Nethers.
Yeah,
And then
but
he was
you're
just like,
holding it.
But you're holding it. And he's just like, wait, no. And then like take him away. His feelings of indignation about being unjustly accused, that's a feeling.
Honestly, that's true. You'd never arrest anyone unjustly because all they'd have to do is get mad at you accusing them, and they're guilty.
So Christian Bale did the old gun switcheroo. That's actually a major part about gun kata and using guns as a total weapon is that you can plant them on people as well.
At your leisure.
And so he's like, "Very, very good, John Preston. Like you've arrested the cleric that was at the heart of the feelings resistance." And so, and then like he goes home. They're like, "But we're still going to search your apartment. I mean, surely you don't have any problem with that." And he's like, "No, it's be quite right of you to search the apartment." And then he immediately runs out of the office, dude, and then runs home. He's like pouring sweat. He's like, "All right, just give me one second." And then he goes into his bathroom and like pulls out the mirror where he's been hiding all of his Prozium doses, and they're gone. And he's like, "Oh, fuck, they're on to me. And then his evil son is behind him. And he's like looking for these, Father, and it's a handful of all the Prozium
It's
doses.
mango jewel pods.
He's like, "Father Bloomberg has outlawed these. What are you doing with them, Father?" No, but here's the first of many twists at the end of this movie. His evil Damien fucking Omen child was actually on his side the entire movie, and he goes, "You should be more careful in the future." His evil son, who he thought was like the most ruthless snitch in history, is actually on his side, but unlike Christian Bale, he's just actually good at suppressing his emotions.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Dad, if you're going to be in the underground, you're going to have to do a lot better at hiding these
fucking up.
emotions."
Quit fucking up, dude.
So his son was in fact not evil, but had been a feelings rebel ever since his mother was incinerated.
Yeah, he's not been on the juice the entire time.
And I'm sure if we opened up his closet, he'd have cute like Palm Springs antiques in there, cuckoo clock.
Yep. Hang in there, baby poster. Is he getting a cookie? What are you doing?
He's eating his. Is that a sandwich? Yeah. Why are you holding it like that?
Because I'm a feeling criminal.
I just saw feelings for the listeners at home.
I sliced off a bit of the sandwich.
You're holding it.
You're holding the whole thing.
No, the bread's on top. The bread's on top. This is where I sliced off a bit of one of the excess sandwiches we were given. And this is like what Christian Bale does when he... No, like the bread... I don't know.
Felix is holding a hunk of sandwich in his hand like it's a fucking...
He's holding it 360 degrees around. Every exposed part of the sandwich is covered by Felix's hand.
No, like, look, it's normal.
You know what? That's why you loved this movie as a kid, because your parents said to you, "Felix, you have too many feelings. Felix, you hold sandwiches weird," and you said, "That's because I'm a freaking rebel, Mom."
Yeah, no, that's what it was. Well, I mean, I was also looking in the feelings fridge for a feelings Diet Coke.
Okay, all right, listener. I mean, I'm putting Feelings Trader Felix on blast right now. Living with him this past week, not only has he been eating all of Catherine's cookies and drinking her Diet Cokes, but I saw you, you ordered takeout, and it was just like it was here on the coffee table, and I saw you open the bag, and it was like the most absolute chaos shit I have ever seen in my life. The bag was stapled at the top, and rather than opening the bag from the top, you ripped it down the side while you were holding it in the air, and then like I swear to God, in a millisecond, you used your tetragrammaton-like reflexes to catch probably a 32-ounce green smoothie from just spilling directly out of the side of the bag and splashing everywhere. But it was, you have extreme chaos energy.
Well, okay, so to defend myself, the staples were poking out a lot, and they seem sharp. And I have like very delicate skin, and it's like I have hurt myself on those before. Never hurt myself on the side of a bag.
We you, horny police, feelings police. I know we've been talking a lot about abolishing the police this year, but we got to bring the feelings police back to lock Felix up, throw away the freaking key.
Yeah,
He's talking
about
about
the Felix police.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of this guy.
Well, to quote Equilibrium, it's a price I pay gladly.
You're treading on my dream. You're treading on my food.
Yeah, you're
Felix.
treading on my lunch.
You're treading on my lunch. Okay, so we're rapidly heading towards the climax of this movie. So his son was on his side the whole time, and then as a reward, so he goes to Jurgen, William Fichtner's character, and he's like, okay, they're gonna let me meet Father, the guy who's on all the screens, and we're gonna assassinate him. And then Jurgen explains to him that like all it takes is for the people to know that there's no head of the council anymore, and that we will detonate the explosives we placed in the Prosium factories all over Libya, which were already there, ready to go. Which
How do you remember this shit? I don't remember any of this crap.
This is what it's like living in New York.
Oh my God.
This is how we're going to elect Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is like the feelings rebel, and all the other candidates are like the father.
He's like, hey, I'm feeling you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Come on, I'm laughing.
When Andrew Yang like does a speech where he's like, the spirit of New York is everyone taking the train to say hi to each other. That's like being a feelings rebel.
It does make you wonder why they didn't just blow up the fucking factory whenever they wanted to. Why they had to wait for this guy who never saw anyone to get assassinated.
Yeah. It's the plan isn't the greatest, and it's also like I don't even know why they had to do all this, because it's like when the plan is executed, the way that they like bring it to a close is just by like running at the shitty cops and blowing their brains out, and it's like you could have done that.
You could have done that at any time. How are you getting rinsed every day by the feelings police?
Yeah.
Okay, so Christian Bale and the leaders of the resistance and William Fichtner are like, okay, we'll turn ourselves in. Like you call the feelings cops on us, and he's like, I've got the leaders of the underground. It's over. There's no more feeling rebels. And they're like, okay, very good. You've done very well, Cleric Preston. Your reward is you get to now wear a white unitard, and you get to meet Father. And he's like, okay, this is my chance. And before he meets Father, they're like, if you make eye contact with Father, one of 30 snipers will put you down immediately. And they're like, but first you have to pass the test. And he's like, what? You don't want to say anything about the test? And they're like, wait, do you honestly think we would let anyone come near Father if we had even a remote chance that they had feelings? And yeah, then they administer the Ho test, where they're like, how many? Let me see your phone, citizen. Is the screen cracked? Oh, Ho.
Yeah, they show him like on a big screen. They show him like Doonesbury, and if he laughs, they just execute him.
So they administer the feelings test to him, but who's administering the test to him? It's Tay Diggs. He's back.
Yeah.
It was all a double blind. They were like, we knew you were a feelings rebel the whole time. You've been crying every day in the bathroom the last week. You didn't think anyone noticed?
Yeah, you went to the evidence locker and you were like, could I check out all of the Harry Potter books, please, to investigate feelings crimes?
And then they're like, you fucking sap. There was no father. It's just a guy on a blimp talking bullshit. And it's actually Angus McFadden is the guy who's been pulling the strings the whole time. Father is just a hologram. This whole society is bullshit, man.
Yeah,
it's all bullshit.
It's absolute a bullshit society.
And he because they needed a real feelings haver to infiltrate the underground, and so they basically manipulated him into getting feelings. So then he went and he connected the underground, and
maybe that's why they executed his wife. This is like a long con to
they
get
got
him into the feelings
all
mafia.
arrested. So now they won. It's feelings cops 1, feelings haver 0.
And there's this plan is so good. There's no way he could just like.
There's absolutely
pull out
no way.
Yeah,
they have him dead
He's
to rights.
surrounded by hundreds of feelings cops. There's no way.
It's not like he. Where would have he hidden his secret guns? His sleeve? What's he gonna do? Just take out his secret guns and literally kill like 100 guys in a minute? No. Yes.
Well, that's exactly
literally what
happens.
happens.
So, like they got him to the last stage right before seeing Father, and no one just gave him a pat down.
Yeah.
But I mean, sure, they hooked him up to the polygraph to sell that he has hella feelings, but nobody checked out that yes, he had 2 guns up his sleeves. And he
2 like Desert Eagles.
Yeah, I know,
like huge pistols,
fucking handguns. And yeah, he kills probably 50 people. And in my favorite scene, there's a long hallway of columns, and there's like at each column there's 2 just bullshit guards with machine guns, and he just runs through down the whole hall, just doing gun kata, just back and forth, shooting everybody.
These are my favorite like enemies in movies because it's like they're like tutorial enemies that he fights for the entire movie. Like they're always like, I think he's a feelings offender. Prepare for him to kill us all in 1 hit.
So then he gets to the final door to see the final boss, and he kicks it through, and it's Taye Diggs and Angus McFadden, and this is the last twist in the movie. You realize that for the true upper elite of the anti-feelings dictatorships are feelings hypocrites, because it's a giant room that's adorned like one of Donald Trump's apartments.
Yeah.
And there's like chintzy art everywhere,
chandelier,
and fucking like paintings of dogs playing poker, and fucking huge marble fucking bus. And, like it's just it's a chintzy crap, and this fucking asshole's been having feelings all along.
The feelings core of this universe looks like a cheesecake factory, and it's amazing.
That's like the best insight into Kurt Wimmer is like, oh, if there was a world where like feelings were illegal and we executed anyone who listened to a record, the worst part would be that the head anti-feelings guy is a hypocrite, and he like listens to Tony Bennett alone with his one friend.
He's listening to the wheels on the bus go round and round. There's like tears roll down his cheeks, and he's just overcome with powerful vibration.
Join me, Cleric Preston, and we can listen to Old MacDonald together.
So then he's like, Cleric Taye Diggs, deal with this traitor, and then like Christian Bale kills him in probably 3 seconds by cutting his face off like across the face, so it just sort of slides down.
This is awesome because it's like before, like after the hallway and before Taye Diggs, they're like, "Oh, you got to our main room? Well, I bet you didn't think of this." And then like 8 losers come out with like billy clubs,
with swords. With swords. He just killed 100 guys with machine guns, and then there's 8 guys with swords. And they're like, "We got you now."
And once again, they choose to arrange themselves in like a perfect pentagram.
They love circling this
like
guy.
a circle or directly around him,
which is literally that's how the gun kata system is designed to work, is to neutralize people surrounding you.
And usually, if you have a machine gun, you could be kind of like far away from the guy you want to kill, right? Where you have to go up really close to him in a small circle with all your friends and do the like horror around him.
He beats the shit out of them, and then like Angus McFadden, of course, like shows like he's not like, oh no, he's like, all right, well, we tried sending 50 guys after you. We tried sending 8 guys. What about 1 guy? And it's like Taye Diggs just slowly walks in front of him, and Christian Bale like gets 7 cuts on him in like under a second. And it's like that was the entire plan.
And then because at the end of that, then finally Angus McFadden's like, oh shit, and then he decides to do gun kata at Christian Bale, which is very funny because he's round as shit.
Yeah, he looks like Stuart Lee, but he gives Christian Bale like his best fight of the movie,
which is literally them like trying to shoot each other. Like either one of them could have stood back and like tried to shoot.